Let's see, will we use the moon tonight?
There's a tray that goes under.
Yeah, I armed it and then I don't know where.
You already lost it.
It's around somewheres.
It's nice.
Well, it looks like it's smoking.
Kind of, yeah.
Oh. Daisy. Daisy. Can you read it?
Oh, Wendy. I'll share it.
Hey, where's the other light?
It's there in the back.
Very dark over here.
Oh. Okay. The move down. Oh. Oh. The mood changed.
Oh. It's like,
The purple looks actually really good.
like a firework.
Everything's ready. And you
All righty. Boy, this is tight sage. I can't even light it.
Oh,
You let them in or I let them in? It's always dangerous that I remove someone because if the button is closed. Yeah. If I click on new people,
you go ahead.
I will. It's mostly when we click at the same time.
All right, well, on the good wahi ka joke. So what I want to see is Nari. Could see down Rio, you just go and you just going to start. I'm not really. Right in order to go on Gary, I guess. Yet he saw to us a tank of Garoko, then yet in the stars, you Zagi. Then go to Scott Naganungwe. Right in order to a way. So here and it kundun hits that goes then a wage nig that gonyat de regera then a guego or quadri or no quasuma. Written would do yet the sort of gunhan there on other headstone. I'm gonna go here that you have a quick. Dumb down out on headset because it's Tassin and I can know it. Dumb down out on headset. Asat nigat dardige. Ne ganyaga haga dano a guego on a board of and that's a go and a scano dano. Orihuio, Gariwa Gori Shunsida Dana does it. Damdawi Gayandawana ne Ganigurio. So as you know, every time that we get together for council meeting, ceremony, anything of importance, we always have to carry out on the Gari with Deco first. This is the words that come before all else, where we give thanks for and identify the things in creation that have created us and the things that we need to continue to sustain us. So we always begin by giving our thanks to the great spiral of creation that when you look up into the nighttime sky, you're not looking to cold, dark, empty, lifeless space the way that non-native science would lead you to believe. No, instead you are looking into the living, vibrant body of our great mother, just into the body of Sky Woman herself. And so this is what you're looking at when you look into the nighttime sky. That is not stars that you're looking at. What is stars? What are these? These are what's identified as suns, like our sun, but that are light years away, galaxies away. But this puts in your mind that there is some kind of separation between us and them, that the distance is so great that there is no communication between us, that we could never have contact with those beacons of light, that we could never communicate with. This is not so. It's not like this. When you look up into the nighttime sky, the points of light that you are looking at is the equivalent of the molecular structure within your own body, that within each molecule, each cell in your body, there is, as you know, those they identify as protons, electrons, and neutrons, what we identify as turtle, wolf, and bear. So in each one of these cells where these things are activated, that is a spark of light. This is like within your mind, within your brain, it's the neuron firing up. So just imagine that in your brain, one neuron from one side of the brain seeing a light on the other side of the brain and saying, oh, that's light years away. We can never have contact. We can never communicate. It's on the other side of the waterverse. We'll never have a connection. Well, this isn't so. Just as far apart as it is within your own brain, as far apart as the stars, the moon, the sun, the molecules in your body, it's like this in your brain, but yet your brain communicates. These points of light that are seemingly light years away are communicating with each other constantly. As a matter of fact, just for you to see it, just for you to record it, to know that it's there, that is a communication directly to you, the person who sees it, who receives it. If there was a song being played on a radio, are you aware of the songs that are being played on the radio right now? There are songs right now being played on the radio, on many stations in many cities all around the world. Are you aware of them? Do you know which song is being played? No, you're not aware of it. You don't know which song is there. Does it mean that those songs are not there being played on all these different radio stations around the world because you are not aware of it? No, you being aware of it doesn't add up to anything. And as far as these songs being played on every radio station around the world, just as whether you are aware of it or not, that communication on the other side of the waterverse, that star way over there lighting up, is communicating to everyone who will hear it, to everyone who will see it. Who will see it? Who will hear it? Well, that's you. If you're driving in your car and you're trying to listen to the radio, or if you're at home or on your phone, trying to maybe, I don't know about on phone, but like on a radio, scanning the stations, trying to find that one song that you like, something that resonates to you. And it's a song that you never heard, but the moment that you hear this song sound or that rhythm or that beat, then that resonates to you, it attracts you, it pulls you in. That's when you become aware of that song. That's when you become aware of that star, of what you call or what is referred to as a star. And once you become aware of it, once you see it, it is then communicating directly to you. The same way that whoever the DJ is playing that song on the radio in the city where you are at, you may think they're not playing that song for you until you hear it, you like that song, and you feel the rhythm, and you think, all right, I'm listening to a good song. How many of you are like myself here in the Montreal area, scanning through the station saying, the radio in Montreal sucks? You know, is that like that in your city or wherever you're at? The radio sucks there, the channels suck. They're always playing shitty songs. Like never a good song. Maybe once in a while there's a good song on there. Well, what happens when you're experiencing that? You scan right past that channel. You go right past that station. So you're not hearing those songs that are being played. But once you do tap into that one song that you like, that you hear on the radio, it resonates with you, then that song is meant just for you. Because the person who makes it, the creativity, they're sending that message to anyone who will receive it. And if you'll receive it, for instance, let's say 50% of the way, where you're tapping your toes. Yeah, okay, well, it was meant for you 50% of the way. But if you're tapping your toes and snapping your fingers and singing along with it, wow, then that song is meant for you more, obviously, because more of it resonates with you. The beat, the rhythm, the song, it all resonates with you. Where you know that sometimes, well, it might just be a rhythm and only a certain part of the song, just the rhythm in a certain part will resonate with you. The whole rest of the song you might not like it at all. Well, this is the equivalent of when we are looking into the nighttime sky, that from the time that we are children, we are introduced to the nighttime sky. Now, of course, this isn't happening anymore. Nobody's doing this anymore because there's like almost no nighttime sky to look at. No matter where you are, the nighttime sky is being washed out by light, by artificial light. So wherever you are, like say 50 years ago, you could have stepped outside and you would have seen, of course, a hell of a lot more stars, more light in the sky than what you see right now. Now you step out there and what you're seeing is like a brightness that's just reflected. It's in the artificial light that's bouncing off of all the pollution that's in the sky, that you can't see it. You don't know it's there at night. But when you're seeing like a glow in the sky, you know, where the sky is bright, what you're seeing is a reflection. You're seeing the pollution in the sky reflecting the light that's coming off of the ground from the cities, from the highways, the freeways, the cars that are on there. You're seeing the light reflected. That's why it's bright in the nighttime sky at night, where you can't see beyond this glow in the sky. You can't see beyond it now. It's like the same thing in the daytime where, you know, on a very heavy pollution day, you'll see like a haze hanging over you. You can't see beyond that into the blueness because it's being covered up by the particles of pollution. And pollution looks yellow or brown. In some cases, it depends on what the pollution is. It may look red, but generally, overall, the kind of pollution that we're seeing from exhaust, you know, from carbon carbon dioxide, it's generally like a yellow brownish hue in the sky. And when that's there, that's lower. You're seeing that lower. Of course, it's pollution all the way up, but you can't see the pollution that's higher up because you got to look through all this pollution, layers and layers of pollution. So the pollution that you're seeing, it's a lower layer, and it's something that's harder to see through. Like you can't see through it to see blue sky because it's a haze hanging over the city. So it's the opposite in the nighttime. You can't see to the blue sky in the day. At night, you can't see through the clear sky. You can't see into the nighttime sky, into the sky world. You can't see the stars anymore. But a long time ago, everyone was introduced to the stars, whether or not it was your way as a people. Say, like, for instance, you know that some peoples are more more observing of the night sky than others. For instance, people around the world know that the Mayan people had great knowledge of the cosmos. Everyone refers to Mayan cosmology. So you know that at one point there, everyone as a child was introduced to the nighttime sky because they had monuments to the nighttime sky in which they would observe the sky from. Now think of this. Everyone was working in the society to build in areas such as that, like to build a pyramid or whatever. I'm sure they didn't call them pyramids. They were called something very specific to what their application was. And when you consider that these pyramids, or whatever anyone wants to call them, temples, buildings, when you consider that they were built over old existing ones, well, what is this then? The old existing one was doing what? Were they trying to cover up something? And now, well, let's make it a nighttime, night sky observation area? No, they were building on top of that. That's what it was. And they expanded on that, just like the way that you were 1 year old and you looked a certain way at 1 year old, and then you looked another way when you're 2, and so on up until whatever age that you're at. You never look the same at 10 years old as what you did when you're 1. When you're 20, you don't look like that. But regardless, it doesn't matter. That is your foundation. That's where you come from. So what you look like at 2 years old is built on top of what you look like at 1 year old. It's a constant evolution. So this was the work of the people, all working together to create these places of observation, places of knowledge. And so it was built on top of previous places of knowledge. So it was accumulated. It was an accumulated like knowledge place, a place of knowledge, place of wisdom. So you just imagine all the people working for that in the daytime, building these structures where people can stay up all night to watch the moon, Grandma Moon, as she travels across the nighttime sky, to see where she is in relation to that other celestial body that's moving. And this is how all the people together being introduced to this at a young age, you would have your star, which you are supposed to be looking at, observing. And if it wasn't one that you chose, it would be one that within your family would say, hey, watch this star, because maybe I grew up watching this star, and the one next to it is for maybe your son, maybe your daughter, maybe your husband or your wife. Yeah, you watch this star there. So together as a family, we watch this little star cluster. And then as we get children, then the children are looking to these other parts of the star cluster. So to where eventually the society, the people as a whole, have the whole sky covered. Everybody's watching everything, where there isn't a surprise that's gonna pop up all of a sudden. Where right now, if any of us went out into the nighttime sky, looked around up there, and would we know? Would you notice any difference? Do you notice when you are not seeing a star? When it is maybe a satellite that you're looking at? Do you notice? Are you aware? Can you tell? Can you tell when there's something that you were seeing there that you would have seen, let's say for some previous time in your life, and then now it's not there? If you walked outside right now, would you be able to discern of all these changes and shifts and movements within the nighttime sky? The answer to that is generally no. You wouldn't be able to. There's not many people who are aware of these things anymore. Mostly now it's people who go to school and who get jobs as something in the field of astronomy or something like that, astrophysicists. These are generally the only people who are looking up into the nighttime sky now. Why is that? Because everybody else doesn't have time. You just don't have time for it. And everything else that you're doing basically takes away your interest in things that are not viewed by you as being of the here and now, because you are told that that star that you're looking at over there, that it's 14 billion light years away. So they tell you that what you're looking at, it's not even there. So it's not even real. So you got to think, what does this do to young minds? This is a lie, of course. If you can see something, it's there. Right now, any one of us, go a distance away from anyone else that you're looking at, and the light, the image of them that you can see, is that them right now? Or is that them a split second ago? Because of how long it takes the light to travel to you. Well, here, up close, you really can't tell. It really doesn't matter to us. Well, that's a split second ago. Does it matter? Is it true? Because we're seeing it in the here and now. And we're talking to them in the here and now. Well, let's extrapolate that to a star or a planet that we might see in the sky and not even know that that isn't a planet. I mean, that it's not a star, that it's a planet. You know, there's this year, Jupiter has been really prevalent, very visible. It usually is anyways, but this year it's been really there, you know, right there in our face, undeniable. Even people who didn't know before if that was Jupiter, I bet you this summer, you probably come to realize if somebody told you that was Jupiter. And then over the summer, how often or how long Jupiter was basically staying in the same place in the nighttime sky, almost, you know, you probably yourself became more familiar with it the way that we did, the way that I did this summer. To the point of where this summer I was an expert. People could ask me, is that Jupiter right there? And I look, we're just in the general direction where they're looking, and you would know, yeah, that's Jupiter, or no, that over there is Jupiter. That's how familiar I became with Jupiter this summer. So a long time ago, this is what everyone was exposed to. The nighttime sky, people in the daytime were working to accommodate people being able to stay up all night. Now think of this, where in society today would you have people staying up all night and other people thinking that, yeah, that's good, you're doing a good job, stay up all night? Where do people stay up all night? In the bars, in the clubs, in raves or something, dancing all night? What are they doing? Do you see people during the day, everyone else who doesn't stay up all night working to build these places, these bars or clubs or wherever, in order for these people to dance in there all night? Well, you don't see that as a rule, you know, like all of society working to make this one thing. You don't see that in non-native society. But this is the way that it was within all original societies on Earth, because we all observe the stars. It was crucial to know the movements of the stars. So the people in the daytime who are planting their gardens, are the stars, the movement of the stars important to them? Does it affect? Yes, it does. Does it affect a lot, like as much to say as the movement of the moon? No, not that much, but the fact is that the positioning of everything that we can see, the physical, the positioning of it has its effects on us visually. And if we're there seeing it every night and then something is gone or it gets fainter or something, you know, or stronger, then it affects us. It alters our perception of that part of the sky. If we are all observing. When we're not all observing, then anything could happen there and nobody's going to notice. We about a month and a half ago, something like that, we were looking at something, I don't know what it was, in the sky, and we says, hey, check out that app. You know, you got the app on your phone and you just point it there and it tells you everything that's there. Huh? So I forget why, but we pointed it at the moon and we were looking at the moon for a minute and I seen something go by. I said, what the hell was that? You know, thinking whatever. Hey, what's that in the sky? Is that a spaceship or something? What the heck was that? And then, like a couple of seconds later, boom, there goes another one. And another one, right through the light of the moon. You can't see it visually, but how I could see it was with that app. You can see a line going through the light of the moon and you can see a bunch of numbers connected to that line. That's the satellites that you can see in the nighttime sky. If you got that app and there's a satellite going by, every satellite is registered. Every satellite has a serial number or whatever on it. And you point that app up, it's going to pick up that satellite. It's going to tell you the numbers, which one it is. So did any of you notice without that app, if you had a telescope, you'd see something going through the light of the moon. Maybe you might not know what it is, and then you might think, wow, was that an asteroid or something? So without that app, with those numbers on it next to that thing, you got no clue what that is. But now, well, we can determine, well, those are satellites. But if you just went outside right now, you would see that. Would you be able to determine, to discern the difference between a satellite and something else in the night sky? Most likely you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So this is where we're at in as far as the way that human evolution goes. At one time, we were fully aware of everything on our planet. Everyone was fully aware of medicines, plants, every plant, every tree. Maybe not one person was aware of it all, but the collective in the society, every culture had a complete awareness of the surroundings where they're at. Everyone, so let's say in a different part of the country, you got different trees, a complete awareness of it. You might not have awareness of the trees in the other part of the country, but where you are, we had complete awareness as a result of everyone within the society, in the culture, having a different task, a different job to perform, to fill. So we were all raised this way to, when we're younger, to look at the nighttime sky. And some of you might even know this, oh, look at that star. Oh, that's your star. Did you ever hear that when you were a kid? Anybody ever tell you that's your star? And you become familiar with that star. Well, unless there's somebody to keep reminding you of that, like the person who points it out to you, most likely you'll probably forget about it. Unless you are living in a society that values knowledge. A society that values knowledge values the individuals, doesn't value the how many gigabytes you can store on your memory key, doesn't value that. It values the individual who has the real human experience and then can relate that to you, as opposed to a picture of it or something written of it 500 years ago when somebody first seen it. Oh, this is what it is. 500 years later, is it the same thing? Does it still make sense that way as to the way the person wrote about it 500 years ago? Most likely not, because a long time ago, anyone who was observing the sky in the non-native world They are mostly religious people, and things that were seen in the nighttime sky were observed as signals or something to signify or symbolize when to go to war or when to do this in relation, in relation to war. Anyway, so our relationship with the nighttime sky is no longer the same. There's no way that we can say as humans that we have the same knowledge. Even if you look at humans from the 1960s and the humans from now, I'll bet you anything that if we could actually compare that humans in the 1960s had a greater knowledge of space, of the moon, of the planets, than what the society does today, meaning like the collective of society. Because when you think back in the 1960s, well, this was like we're coming out of what they called or it was the space age, space race. So everybody was really into that stuff. People were living that. People were learning of that. Nowadays, just myself, the way I gauge things, I always ask if people know about this or know about that stuff in the non-native world, and they never know. And today I know that just about the moon teachings that we do, and when we ask questions on those levels, people never know. They never know. They don't know how to answer things that 50 years ago that probably children could have answered. But now adults can't answer those things. So anyways, this is just to identify that a knowledge that we once had of the stars, the sun and the moon and everything in the night sky was much greater than we have now. And we can deduce this just quite simply by the mere fact of that. The night sky right now is brighter than it used to be. It's not as dark anymore. So that means the brightness of the light from Mother Earth, artificial light, is washing out the light that we would see coming at us from so-called outer space. So we're washing away the truth that was there in front of us. We can't see it anymore. If you can't see it, you're not gonna be thinking about it. You're not gonna be you can't be observing it if you can't see it. So if you're not observing something, well, you can't record information about it. So that means that we're recording less information about everything as humans. So clearly it identifies we're becoming dumber as a collective. No, I'm not saying as natives or as this or that, black, white, yellow, brown. Everybody together is becoming dumber. Because it doesn't matter if you're rich or if you're poor or if you're black or white or whatever, the sky is getting blacked out or washed out. The nighttime sky is getting washed out for all of us. So it doesn't matter how rich you are, you still can't see beyond that pollution, that light pollution. Doesn't matter how poor you are or how sincere you are, your vision is still blocked out from that light pollution. Okay, anyways, we're not going to go too long tonight. We're just going to touch on a few things. We are right now in the middle of ceremony. We just finished the third day today of the harvest, and tomorrow is the last day. And you might be thinking, harvest? Well, shouldn't you have done that last month or something? Well, if you're thinking based on what everyone does, everyone has their Thanksgiving dinner at a certain time. You go by a belief that, well, it's ready at 3 o'clock, so at 3 o'clock we're going to be there. But the reality is this year, Thanksgiving harvest was not ready at 3 o'clock. It was ready maybe at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. It's a late harvest this year. Now, a lot of people will say in this area, they'll say, no way, look at, we had snow on the ground for what, a week now the snow was on the ground? So it stayed a little bit cold, not much, for about a week. But there was only a little bit of dusting on the ground, just a little bit. Now, people of today, because they're locked in a 40-hour work week, they want their ceremonial schedule to accommodate their work week. So they'll say, oh, well, let's put that on that so-called Queen's birthday. And so everybody throughout all native territories were all claiming they were celebrating, I don't know what they called it, Aboriginal Day or something, but they were actually celebrating that, the woman they called their queen, celebrating her birthday. But they called it also like here in Gunawaga, they called it corn planting day. So everybody got a holiday in their system. All the ass kissers in the sellout band system, they all got a holiday on their queen's birthday. And they call it, they refer to it as some kind of native title to it, you know. They'll say, oh, it's corn planting day or whatever else. Like in Grand River, wine and cheese day. I don't know what else they call it there, but people don't know anymore what that is. When you hear that, what's that, wine and cheese day? You know, over here, you won't know what that is. You gotta be from Grand River to know what that is. You gotta be a Mohawk. Ganyangahagas don't know what that is. But in Grand River, the Mohawks there, the people there know what that is, wine and cheese day. That's the day that when they agreed to become subordinate to the British Crown, and they became the Mohawks and the Six Nations, then they got payment for that. And the payment for that is every year they get their wine and cheese. That's what they're granted, wine and cheese. Okay, so what do we gotta talk about then? We're just gonna give some updates. Okay, let's go to the poster. Can we share that poster? Okay, some of you are aware of this. We have been working on Moon Team Alpha for quite some time. We've been talking about it. It's been in the works, maybe, I don't know, about a month, maybe 2 moons, something like that. We've been talking about Moon Team Alpha. Well, this past week, we there was 2 things that we fired up Moon Team Alpha on. We sent out a communique to everyone there to look for information. And then that information, of course, we're using it, we're compiling it. And then just yesterday, last night, right? We sent out a communique.
No, 2 nights ago, because Harold sent it.
2 nights ago?
Mhm.
Okay, 2 nights ago, we sent out a communique to everyone about an event that's gonna be happening this coming Wednesday at the Mexican consulate in Montreal, something that we are doing there in conjunction with the Mexican consulate and their cultural center space. Anyways, so we sent out, we said, can we get the email? Can we read off that email that was sent, just what we sent out to everyone? Yeah. Okay, this way you will grasp, you'll better understand the picture that we're painting here. So the other night, we sent out an email to everyone who would be on board with us in what we identify as Moon Team Alpha. Whoever is going to help in this struggle to defend Grandma Moon is a part of Moon Team Alpha. And so we put out a request the other night to create this poster, like an advertisement for this coming Wednesday. So we're going to read it off to you so you get an idea here of the reciprocal work that we're doing together in Moon Team Alpha. I can't see that. Can you read that off?
Yeah, it says, it's gotta go, everyone. We have an emergency project like ASAP, please. We have a very important Moon Teachings Sharing Circle at the Mexican Consulate this coming Wednesday, November 30th at 3 p.m. We need a poster. Unfortunately, we are in ceremony right now. We can't do anything. I'm just too tired anyways. So if anyone can help out, we need a poster with the following image. It'd be really appreciated. Image of Turtle Island, north and south in the Mayan territory. Will be looking upwards at a Mayan pyramid, night sky, stars in the background. Image of Machu Picchu should be bottom left corner. Image of Longhouse and Ayahuasca Wampum Belt in the northeastern woodland. Image of Grandma Moon, upper right corner. The infos are in accordance with the Turo Wampum in conjunction with the Mexican Consulate Montreal. Wolfner, representative of the Ganyangaha Traditional Council, will be presenting a Moon Teachings Comparative Science Sharing Circle. the address, the time, other infos, contact number, event of the Espacio Mexico that they created. That's there. Me algo, Adam, esos medios?
Okay, so here is a communique that we put up to everyone who is in Moon Team Alpha. So there's no picture drawn here. It's just an image in the mind, what we're looking for somebody in Moon Team Alpha who can make this happen. Okay, so we put this out, and this is what comes back to us. Last night, of course, the message was put out 2 nights ago. So last night, this comes back to us. The poster, the draft from Harold. Harold, who's in California, in Fresno, right?
Yeah.
In Fresno, he's like over 3,000 miles away from us, and he gets this email. We explain it pretty much what we want, and this is what he sends back.
Mhm.
So you can see that the communication between in Moon Team Alpha, it's very clear, it's very concise. So work that needs to be done is getting done, not by people right here, not by people here in this house, not by my family that are right here, not by my friends that live in this community, not by whoever else, artists or whoever may be in this community. No one in this community is doing a goddamn thing about nothing. About the environment, forget it. No one in this community in Gunawaga is doing nothing. Anything that they are doing, it's of trivial. It's of no impact whatsoever. So here is somebody, like we said, over 3,000 miles away on the other side of the continent. Here's this urgent message and presents us back with this image. Now, everybody heard what was written in that communique. Now look at this image. Isn't this precisely what was asked for in the communique? It's precisely what was asked for. Now, we didn't have this compiled in front of us. We had this idea and it needed to manifest. And so together, Moon Team Alpha, working together in defense of our grandmother Moon, working to return the voice of our Mother Earth back to the people so that we would be able to hear what our mother is saying to us, that this is what Moon Team Alpha is about. This is what we have come together for, to work together from all walks of life to defend that which is sacred to all of us, which is important to all of us. So Moon Team Alpha worked 2 times this week. It's just the beginning. This is just the tip of the iceberg as to what Moon Team Alpha can do and what we are doing, what we're going to continue to do. So there is going to be, as you see, this is just a poster. That's all it is. Nothing. And from a poster, what is it? It's nothing. It's just something that's there in internet land. It's somewhere there in social media. What happens from that? Well, if it was just on its own, of course, it would have no purpose except that, wow, it looks pretty good, you know. But as to what it was created for, to advertise this event that is going to be happening this coming Wednesday in the Mexican Consulate's cultural space in downtown Montreal. I believe it's on Peel Street, right?
Yeah.
On Peel Street.
55.
155 Peel?
No, 2055.
2055 Peel Street. It's just north of Sherbrooke. Oh, no, wait. It's just south of Sherbrooke. It's in between Sherbrooke and
Maisonnette,
Maisonnette.
closer to Sherbrooke.
Yeah. Closer up to Sherbrooke. And it's on the east side of the street. Anyways, we're gonna be there Wednesday. What time?
3.
From 3 to 5. Well, that's the scheduled time for the moon teachings, but we'll be there longer. But anyways, we'll be there in that time. Hopefully you can come and join us and come and learn about what Moon Team Alpha is, and maybe join Moon Team Alpha. Help us in the work that we are doing to bring awareness to the world about what is happening to our grandmother Moon, what is being done to her, without any kind of assessment. No one on earth was even asked, hey, what do you think about if we go and colonize Grandma Moon the same way we colonized so-called North America? Well, if you were asked that, you would have a clear position on it because you know now what it means to colonize so-called North America. It doesn't mean let's go there and be friendly and let's make friends with everyone and let's just live there. No, it means let's go there and destroy everything. This is what colonization means. So if you don't even know right now that colonization of the moon is a worldwide agenda, then you got your head buried in the sand somewhere. You need resuscitation. You're on life support if you're not aware of these things. So anyways, if you're not aware of those things, you want to stay sleeping, move right along. You got no business staying here with us because here we are engaged in actively working to undo the efforts that are already made at lunar colonization, spatial colonization, and we are working to prevent the plans that are in the works that they have projected to landing on the moon, creating moon bases, start lunar extraction of helium-3 and everything else that's there. Basically, the destruction, all destruction of our grandmother moon. Now, you might say, the moon is too big. This could never happen. Well, let's see. The moon is only a quarter the size of our Mother Earth. 1/4 the size of our Mother Earth. What's the health of our Mother Earth right now? What's the health status of our Mother Earth? Is she healthy?
No.
Is she unhealthy?
Mhm.
And is that because of the, is she unhealthy because, well, she went out in the cold and she got sick? Or is this because of something that humans are doing to her? We all know it's something that humans have done that within a relatively short period of time, not over thousands of years, this is what you would think that humans have been whatever at it for thousands of years. No, the destruction of our Mother Earth has really been completed only in the last 150 to 200 years max. It's only since the so-called Industrial Revolution. So how long ago was there a steam locomotive going across the land? The first one. How long ago is that? Maybe 200 years ago? Maybe even maybe a little more. Maybe it was in the late 1700s.
I think so.
So maybe it's about 250 years ago, 260 years ago, approximately, you know, that the Industrial Revolution has burst out into creation. And what did it do here? Did Industrial Revolution burst out into creation to be conducive? Did it bring birthday presents? Did it bring gifts for everyone? No. Industrial Revolution, once it burst onto the scene here, it was here as complete and total destruction. So the complete destruction of what our mother is facing right now, our Mother Earth, all of this destruction, pollution, is only within that time frame of the last 150 to 250 years. Everything else that was done before that, yeah, maybe that's the groundwork to it, you know, but it's not on the industrial scale. The industrial scale is what has pushed man's actions over the edge, over the precipice to having maybe say something that would have been the equivalent of you going out and getting your firewood. Maybe you just going out and chipping away at a chunk of coal that's in the ground that you knew of, that, hey, you could set this on fire and keep your family warm. Maybe you doing that all your life, one person, a few people, a community, has no impact on the overall health of our Mother Earth. But when it is done in an industrialized way, when it's industrialized, this is where the damage goes tenfold. Let's say, for instance, a good example of this is gold mining. A long time ago, when they had prospectors, they just went with their pan and they went out by a river and they put their pan in the river and shook it to see if anything ends up in there, and they got gold. That's how it was done before. And then they started industrial gold mining. How did they do that? Well, they got pressurized water. Now, this is even 150 years ago. You think today you can go out into your yard and you got a water hose, you got pressurized water there, you're spraying it across your front yard. 150 years ago, how did they get pressurized water? How did that happen? Well, this is, like we said, it's industrialized. So there's machines that were utilized when they first started developing steam engines, smaller steam engines, and this is what they utilized to create pressurized water in industrial gold mining, which then they sprayed the entire sides of mountains with pressurized water that had certain chemical in it. What is it? It's carcinogen. I forget the name of it, but it's used in gold mining. It's a poison. Cyanide. Yeah. So they put cyanide in the water, they spray that pressurized water on the mountain to have everything just wash off. So here is the example of once a practice that is relatively harmless, like panning for gold. It's relatively harmless. Once it is industrialized, that's it. The damage is irreversible. Just like once a chainsaw was made, you're not going back to axes anymore. You're not going back to cutting down trees with axes. No way. That's not just possible. It's impossible. You wouldn't do it. So the Industrial Revolution is within this time frame of where the majority of all pollution, all destruction to our Mother Earth has happened in this one short little time frame. Approximately less than 200 years. It's within that time frame. What happened here in our house, I'll give you a little history. In 2008, we stopped the ceremonies for a whole year, from midwinter to midwinter. And really, nobody gave a damn. Nobody noticed. There was one little girl that noticed, and she asked her father, and then he mentioned it to us. But without his daughter, he wouldn't have mentioned, he wasn't mentioning nothing. And so once his daughter asked, then we told her, okay, then we're coming back at the midwinter. Now, it was almost through the whole season, nobody said nothing. It was only at the end. So near the end, when we said this, it was close to the midwinter. So it wasn't much of an issue in their minds. But we stopped the ceremonies for a year because when we called the people back, we said, what's the point in doing ceremonies? What's the point? It's to give thanks. And what's the point if we're giving thanks for that tree right outside the window, that while we're sitting in a longhouse, in a house, a structure, giving thanks for creation, we're separated from it. Well, on the outside, they're cutting down that tree. Why give thanks for it? What's the purpose? That would make us hypocrites. Because here in Kahnawake, we are in the middle of an industrial revolution right now. All the so-called Mohawks here are all as the white man. They are all, none of them within native identity. They're all within white man's identity, and they are currently in the process of clear cutting all the forests, all the trees here in Kahnawake. Anybody who's got land, they're clear cutting their land and they're leasing out their properties, or else they're putting big buildings on there with big machines. We are in an industrial revolution. This is so-called native people here in Kahnawake. So this was seen, it was happening. It's not something that here we are in 2022 and we're caught off guard by it. It's here all of a sudden by surprise. No, this has been going on ever since 1984, which is when the so-called Canadian government inflicted the so-called self-government policy upon all native people. And of course, all the ass-kissing sellout mayors, like here, the ex-mayor Joan Horton and the current lesbian mayor are all on board with that same process. They're on the board with the industrial revolution. And so Ganawagi is experiencing this industrial revolution right now. And it's a revolution that the people are revolting against being who we are, living in balance, living with creation. Oh, we're supposed to preserve it. We're supposed to be protecting it. Come to Ganawagi, everybody. Anyone from anywhere else, come to Ganawagi. Come and see the white man at work here in Ganawagi. They call themselves natives. They call themselves a mayor. They call themselves Mohawks. Everybody, come and see what is happening in Ganawagi. Come and see the white natives at work, the ass-kissing sellouts at work. They have adopted the ways of the white man, but they'll talk against the white man. They'll call the white man down every chance they get. They'll call down white people every chance they get. But absolutely everything that they are doing is white. There's nothing native about them. And so this is what's happening, not just here in Ganawagi. It's happening in Akwesasne. It's happening in Ganasadagi. It's happening in all of our communities. Because our people, our so-called people, the ones that call themselves Mohawks, they're not really our people. These are really white people. They're white people who have become native. The same way that Justin Trudeau identifies that, oh, all these white people, all you got to do is label them as Métis, and then all of a sudden, they're not white people anymore. All of a sudden, they're even got more status than native because they're being granted lands that aren't theirs. When the golden boy Justin Trudeau is not giving back any lands to any native people, but he's granting lands to white people who call themselves Métis because they are industrialized. Because this way, Justin Trudeau can build his mini nuclear reactors in all the territories that the Métis claim as their land. Where did Métis get anyone? Where did Métis come from in the first place? Métis are white people. Because if you are a native, your mother's native, you're native. So who's Métis? Métis are people whose mothers are white. And so their fathers may be native, but big deal. What does that mean? It doesn't mean jack shit to anybody. Because the original peoples know that we go by, our identities go by our mothers. So if your mother is white, you're white. That's it. Big deal, you call yourself Métis. That does not mean anything. Métis is it's a dancing monkey. That's all it is for the government. And so it is these types that the government recognizes, which is why here in Ganawagi, the lesbian mayor, all their apostles within the elective system, they are implementing. They have already implemented taxation, municipalization, taxation, not under, say, Ganawagi taxing you. Ganawagi has solidified themselves as stealing money through taxation off of the people here by aligning themselves with the province of Quebec under their taxation regime. So now Ganawagi gets monies the same way that any other municipality gets monies, through taxation. And this is the reason why the sellout mayors, the current lesbian mayor, every sellout mayor before her, why they were all part and parcel to being the dancing monkeys for the government, because they're all bought off by the government. They never work for our people. None of those people who ever hold a position in the British genocidal imposed elective system, none of them ever did anything for the people unto themselves. And once they leave that office, they'll never do anything for the people unto themselves unless, and then it's not unto themselves, unless they're getting paid for it. And when they're getting paid for it, it's not for the people after that. Because those ass-kissing sellouts will only work in the corruption that is part and parcel of the taxation regime. So our people are all have all flip-flop, changed identity. This is the revolution, the industrial revolution of the native people. It's happening everywhere. Our people have become the white man. But every native person then claims whatever. They claim rights, treaty rights, or hunting, fishing rights. How do you get that? How do you get that? You get that because of your identity. When you give in to the white man, you kiss his ass, and you do like he does, are you within your identity any longer? No, you are not. Can any of the ass-kissing sellouts within the elective system claim a treaty right? No, they can't. That's why you'll never see anyone within the elective system ever talking about the two-row wampum. They will never talk about that. They will talk about their native rights that are allotted to them under Section 35 of the Canadian Charter of Rights. That's what they always refer to. They'll never refer to two-row wampum. Anybody, that's a challenge to you. You talk to anyone in the British imposed genocidal elective system, ask them if they push for two-row wampum. Ask them how come they don't. They'll never tell you the truth. They're a bunch of goddamn liars. They will never, ever push for two-row wampum, because if they did, they'd be cutting off their own head, because they know that where they are, they don't have access to two-row wampum, because two-row wampum is our identity, and our identity has our constitution, our laws, not the white man's laws. And our laws is that once you adopt the ways of the white man or anyone else, any other law foreign to the great law of peace, you step outside of our law, and you no longer have access to it, to our rights, to our names, our clans, our ceremonies, and you no longer have access to any treaty rights that stem from within there. So we can see why that all these ass-kissing sellouts within the band system, they will never talk about two-row wampum. They will never talk about treaty rights. The only ones that will talk about treaty rights are the people who don't have treaty rights. And you know who those are? The people who go by the number treaty system. Hey, this is going to bother you. This is going to offend you. Well, I hope you're offended. If you go by treaty one to treaty whatever, that is not a treaty. That is a business arrangement. You made a business arrangement. You did not make a treaty. You think it's a treaty, and you can stand there and say it's a treaty. The only way you will ever be satisfied with this, and we'll challenge anybody, bring your treaty one forward, your treaty two, treaty three, bring any number treaty forward, and let's go over it. And then you'll see how it's about a business arrangement. How they actually tricked your nation, your people, into agreeing with their conduct of extraction. You get paid for it. That's not a treaty arrangement that you made. That's a business arrangement. There is only one treaty everywhere, only one in the whole world, because there is no treaty until the non-natives got here to Turtle Island. Anything that they made out there, those are not treaties. Because if you were under the gun, if you were at war to make a treaty, then your objective out of that to make an agreement is just to deal with war, then it's not a treaty. Whereas the two-row wampum doesn't deal with war. It deals with every part of our existence outside of war. So the two-row wampum is the only treaty on earth. It is the only legitimate treaty that absolutely everyone on earth can utilize. Recently, I mentioned this about the Scots. I don't know if any of you are aware of this, but in Scotland, they just went through, or they're trying to have a referendum there to decide their own fate. And guess who stepped in to say, hey, you can't decide your own fate? Britain. Britain stepped in Britain's courts, through Britain's courts, telling them, no, you cannot be sovereign in your own country. And of course, that is a good kick in the ass for the Scots, because that's the reality, is that hundreds of years ago, they sold out by making the agreement with Britain. Now, maybe hundreds of years ago, they had no choice, that they would have been wiped out, they would have been crushed. And so they had to make that agreement to survive. Yes, that's understandable. But today, ever since then, the Scots, under the control of the Brits, are world renowned for their warring ways. Let's see, did the Scots go out and spread their warring ways around the world on their own accord, under their own power? No, they didn't. They did that under Britain. So for the Scots right now to be getting this kick in the ass when they want to say, hey, we want to be sovereign, we want to separate from your corruption. Who are they saying that to? Who do they want to be sovereign from? Of course, we know who. It's the Brits. Because the Brits are the ones who stepped in and said, no, you can't be sovereign from us. So Scots want to be sovereign from their oppressor. But the court of Britain steps in and says, no, you can't. Isn't that crazy? That's really crazy. So this is where we identify that the Scots, their only hope is to call on the two-row wampum. Now, they don't have any clue about it. Nobody on that side of the world has any clue about the two-row wampum. But the two-row wampum is the only thing that stopped the British in their tracks. And you think of this, if it's a train, non-stop, leaving Britain, going around the world, all throughout Europe, still has all Europe under their thumb, under Brexit. Try to show me one country in so-called Europe, one group in that gang that isn't being torn apart because of Brexit. They're all under the control of Brexit. They're all under the control of Britain, always have been. And so Britain's train goes all through Europe, goes to France, Spain, Germany, Scandinavia, everywhere. Every so-called country in Europe. It goes all around the world, goes to Pakistan, India, Australia, New Zealand. It goes all throughout so-called South America, every country there. It goes through every country in so-called Central America, and you might not see it. You might not understand. How did it get there? Because you think, just like if you're in the so-called United States, you think the United States is separate from Britain. You gotta be completely stupid to believe that the United States is separate from Britain. How could it possibly be? It's impossible to be separate from Britain when everybody in the United States are Brits. And if they're not Brits, they are there under the control of Britain. They are here in this land under the control of Britain. You didn't come here to this land under a visa or a passport or whatever you get. What do you call those things? Visa, passport, whatever. You're not here under your own. You're not here under a European passport. How is it that only a so-called United States-ian can give you a passport to be here? Whatever, what do they grant you to be here? What do they call it?
Permanent
Visa.
residency, like to live or just to come?
Visa. A visa.
Yeah, visa.
So you're not getting a visa granted to you from Europe for you Europeans to be here. Where are you getting it from? And if you're in the States, you're getting it from the so-called United States. And again, who's all the so-called United States? Where'd they come from? They forget that they come from 13 colonies, and they forget that those 13 colonies were all Brits. And if they weren't all Brits, they were under the control of the Brits. They're all Europe. And who's Europe? Are they separate from the Brits? Do they got some kind of separate identity? They'd like to think so, but no. There's no difference between anyone in France than in Britain. No difference than anyone in Germany than in Britain. You may like to think that you are different, but yeah, we'll show you that you are not different. Whatever you believe you are, wherever you come from, and you really don't know where you are from, because you are all mixed up. But wherever you come from, you believe whatever, you're this, you're that, but all of you came over here. Few of you stayed over there, very few stayed over there. Most of your lines came over here. And all of you are here, again, not under a European passport, not under a German passport, you're under a US passport, a US visa. And that US visa is under the control of Britain, as is so-called Canada. So anyone in this hemisphere, and even into the south, into Mexico, into everything Central and South America, is all under the control of Britain. How? How, you may think? Well, plain and simple, one world economy. It's all controlled from one place, the central banking system. It's all from Britain. But also you have the Monroe Doctrine that locks everyone in every country having to exclusively do business through the United States, exclusively through the banks of Britain. No, you might not know that. Doesn't matter. But you've been living under this policy since 1824. You've just forgotten, because you think that whatever you call your constitution, you think that's what's in control of you. But you don't even know your own constitution, because you don't have one. You think you do, but they don't. So anyways, everybody is just all confuddled and all confused within the non-native world. This is the state of the non-native world. The war is pushing on in everybody's minds. And at this time, right under everyone's noses, the distraction of war has everyone looking away from what is truly going on our Mother Earth. And what is going on is, you're hearing it all the time. You're hearing either Elon Musk or somebody else. You're hearing, let's see, who's not a part of the insanity, like Elon Musk, like has their own space company. What's his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson. You hear that guy? I used to place value in that guy like he was smart. Not anymore, because he speaks the same nonsense as the white man. So he's a black guy who's a physicist, but he's a white man's physicist, because he offers no solutions. He offers no truth. He doesn't properly assess things. He's only basically saying what they hand down to him, because he's a part of the show, where he himself is identifying, if the human species wants to survive, we got to leave the planet. What does this mean? If the human species wants to survive, we have to leave this planet. We have to become a space-faring people. Okay, if we want to survive, then does this mean that the planet, is our Mother Earth killing us? We're all got a deadline, like we can tell that she's killing us, and after a certain period of time, we're all going to be snuffed out. Is this what's happening? And so we better leave the Earth before she completes her killing of all of us? Is that what's going on? Why is it that we must leave this planet in order for us to survive? Oh, okay. It's not our Mother Earth. It's not anything natural that's killing us. It's a human behavior. So how can we survive this human behavior by leaving the planet? Because leaving the planet, who is it that's leaving? Is it, do we have what do they call that, like in that movie Avatar? Oh, do we have avatars that, oh, we're going to be here on Earth and we're going to leave the planet through them, and they're going to be doing stuff on Mars and on the moon, and we're going to be in some 3D holograph room moving around, and that's going to be causing our avatars to be doing whatever they're doing on Mars or on the moon or in Io or Jupiter or somewhere else. Leaving the planet means leaving the planet. So we got to leave the planet to escape human behavior, but it's humans that are going to be leaving the planet. So are humans going to be escaping the human behavior? No. The behavior is coming with us. So you can see the exact same stupidity as when the white man came here in 1492, trying to run away from his problems that he caused in his own homeland. Through colonization, he thought that he could get away from his problems. They had to escape all the corruptions of Europe. This is what you people don't realize today, is that, well, you forget, you're 500 years here, you forget that your ancestors had to escape. You had to escape Europe. What was it that you had to escape? Well, you know that you were in dark ages. You know that you had, as you still have, you got these crazy, insane warmongers that call themselves royalty, call themselves royal families who wage war. And they're somehow the head of you. You allow them to lead you into wars. Anyways, that's the white man. That's how stupid the white man is, that you cannot conclude on your own that this is corruption and I don't want nothing to do with it. You can't get away from it because you are all in a gang. You have all made a blood pact in this gang that you're in. And there's only one way out of it. It's, as they say, blood in, blood out. You got to kill to get in, and your only way out is you're going to kill to get out. And if you don't, you're the one that's going to get killed. So the current behaviors worldwide is not being addressed by anyone. No one is addressing it. I can say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we, in the Longhouse up the hill here, and with the people in the 2-row wampum working group, that we are the only people on earth addressing the advancement of colonization off of our mother earth into space and to our grandmother moon. Moon Team Alpha are the only ones working for this. And so Moon Team Alpha was called upon again 2 times this week. We got the work done. Moon Team Alpha put this poster together, this flyer, for what's going to be going on this Wednesday at the Mexican consulate here in Montreal, that we are going to be sharing Ganyangahaga Moon Teaching Sharing Circle, Comparative Moon Teaching Sharing Circle, Comparative Science Moon Teaching Sharing Circle, where we identify Grandma Moon is the beating heart of our Mother Earth. But we don't just say that, we use non-native science to affirm that, to exemplify it. So we are saying to everyone, we use non-native science to prove that Mother Earth is the beating heart. Grandma Moon is the beating heart of Mother Earth. And so Wednesday, we go to the Mexican consulate to do this because Mexico is one of the few countries on Earth that have signed on to the International Moon Treaty, the Lunar Treaty. Of course, it's not being upheld by anyone on Earth. And of course, the main players are the ones breaking it. The main players are the ones refusing to sign on to a moon treaty. So I encourage everyone, go and look at what the moon treaty is, because this is something maybe above your thinking level, where you never think about these things, where you probably don't even know that there's an international moon treaty that's governing the relations of nations that are on the verge of colonizing Grandma Moon. Yes, there was agreements that they all wanted to make, but key players such as the United States and so-called Canada refused to sign the International Moon Treaty. Why would they do that? Let's see. Let's go to 1492, 1491. And let's see if in Europe there was a movement to not colonize. Who do you think would not sign that? Who would be not signing on in 1491 to not colonize the world? Who would not sign on to that?
Everyone.
The people would say, yes, that's good. But the only ones who would not sign on to it would be Britain, would be the heads of the so-called royal family. So you can have everyone in the nation in that country all against it. All it takes is one so-called royal blue blood, inbred blue blood, to be on board with it. And then that whole country is under there. So you in Europe, how do you get out from underneath the tyranny of your inbred blue blood royal families that are controlling you? How do you get out from underneath them? You can't. You cannot do it. You've been stuck there for thousands of years, to the point of where you try to escape, you come over here, and you're still stuck under them. The white people that are here are under an illusion that there's some kind of new breed, the same way as this mentality of Métis. Oh, where does this new breed come from? How is it possible? It's not possible. Do you think that when you make a pig and a bird, you think you're going to get a flying pig? It ain't going to happen. Just because you think you want to do this, you don't have the right to do that. No one has the right to mate a pig and a bird together. But somebody wants to do that. It's the ones who hear that everyone on earth is in disagreement with them, and they say when pigs fly. So they want to make pigs and birds together to make pigs fly, but they don't have that right to do that. But this is what they are locking you under. Everyone is locked under the corruption of lunar colonization. Anyways, this Wednesday, we are going to be fighting against lunar colonization. Now, the world isn't yet aware. The rest of the world is just becoming awakening to that, awakening to the struggle that we have been in since 2009 to stop lunar colonization, while everyone else on the planet has been working for it. You've been working for it because you have not said anything against it. You have not lifted a finger against it. When the bully in the schoolyard is picking a fight and you do not do anything, you do not say anything, you give the right, you empower the bully. You empower that to happen. So this is how everyone on earth is part and parcel to lunar colonization. And you are this close to complete destruction, because all you got to do is take out one spoonful of our grandma moon in an industrialized agenda, a colonial agenda, and that one spoonful might as well be the entire moon gone. Because once you start that one spoonful of commodification and within a trade system, what's to stop you from exploiting the entire moon? There ain't gonna be nothing to stop you. And by the time that all the stupid entities on Earth, non-native entities, are gonna come to realize, and they're gonna say, hey, we better do something to minimize the impact of lunar excavation, of lunar exploitation. By the time they come to that and say that, that's going to be probably about 100 years from now. And by that time, more than half the moon will have been destroyed. And so by that time, it will not matter if you try to put restrictions on. So where it must happen is it must be stopped now. How do you stop somebody from getting killed by a bullet in their head? You take away the gun. So that can't happen. You don't go to that person and try to take the gun out of their hands. No, because then you're in a fight and you might get killed by that person. You have to go to where that gun was constructed, and you have to deconstruct it. So this is what we're doing. Our agenda to save Mother Earth is to save the beating heart. Basically, everyone on earth is protesting against this or that. They're saying, hey, there's a broken finger over here. Let's all protest that. And they're protesting a broken little toe and a bruised knee. Everybody's protesting a bazillion different things all around the earth when they're sticking knives in the heart of the body. So why focus on all these little things when they're going after the heart? So we have to defend the heart. We have to stop that. So this is where we are in working to prevent, to stop lunar colonization. Our next big thing, which is, it's a springboard. It's going to be this Wednesday at the Mexican consulate here in Montreal. It's going to be Facebook Live off of the Mexican consulate's own Facebook page. It'll be live from ours. And this is where it's going to up the ante on our side. We're making it lunar colonization come to a different reality in the minds of people, where they'll come to understand what Grandma Moon is, what the relationship is with our Mother Earth, so that they'll know what they have to stop. And eventually, we won't have to say or do anything. Eventually, it will be the people who will be rising up to protect their heart. So this is the whole agenda, everything that we're working on. Like I said, because tonight we're in the harvest, weren't planning on going any further, unless there's somebody who's got any questions or anything that wants to be addressed. If not, then maybe we'll just close up early tonight.
8:30. Nobody raised their hand.
Just that you know that the one yes stays with us for tonight. That's been a long time.
Okay, there's some, well, now that you mentioned her, there was somebody that I've been in communication with in Zusne, and they just wrote a post about something that went on back in the late 80s when they killed each other there to get casino. They wrote something there and they tagged my name and asked, what do I know about it? What do I know about at that time, what went on when they were under siege there, when they killed each other? They were under siege because there was they were barricaded in by the National Guard, by the state troopers, by the reserve police, by the Warrior Society, by the other side, which they called antis at the time. So there was these 4 or 5 different roadblocks restricting the people's movement at the time. And of course, we said this many times, nobody could get through. You think somebody from the Warrior Society side is going to let somebody from the other side get through them? No, they wouldn't. And somebody from what they call the anti-side wouldn't let somebody from the Warrior side go through their blockades. No, they wouldn't. So this meant that the whole community of Akwesasne was polarized. And anybody who wanted to have movement through their community, they were in a struggle. You had to fight for movement through your community. Who'd you have to fight against? Did you have to fight against the white man? Nope. You had to fight against your own, or what you thought was your own. They were not your own. But anyways, at that time, my family here in the Longhouse up the hill, we were of the only ones able to get through all of those roadblocks, get through all sides. And somebody asked me about this in the last couple of days. Why was that? How come? Because this was 1987, 88. It was late 87, early 88 when this happened. 2 people were shot and killed in Akwesasne. Matthew Pike was the first one. I can never remember, no disrespect, the name of the other person. But anyways, when they were killed, I believe that was 1988. So 1988, Why were we able to pass through? Because 1988, this was only 14 years after the flashpoint of division of the Ganyaga-Haga Nation. Because prior to 1974, the entire Ganyaga-Haga Nation, Akwesasne, Ganawage, still Grand River, Tandanay, everywhere, it was all one. It was all one house. There was no divisions. There was nothing to say like a division of you're this community, you're that community. Anyone could have went and married and moved into any of those communities until all the ass-kissing sellouts in the elective system locked themselves down into their municipal agreements with the province to be the slave guards, just like slave guards on a ship of the slaves in the bottom that gotta move the oars, you know, they're the ones moving that ship. So it was our own people that locked our people into these things. It was our own people that were killing each other. It was all over casinos. It was all started from the warrior society. It's the warrior society that started this mentality of economics. To the point of where there's people everywhere now that if you talk about sovereignty or whatever, the first thing they'll talk about is throw in there, oh, what are we going to have for an economy? What are we going to use? Are we going to use the white man's dollars, or are we going to create our own? What kind of insanity is this? What kind of stupidity is this? Our people are just as stupid as the white man, because they're locked into the same stupidity, the same stupid thinking as the white man. So our own people automatically say, oh yeah, how are you going to put food on the table for my kids? And then that will automatically start a division, because how could I possibly put food on the table for your kids unless you're not taking care of your kids? And then I would have to put food on the table for your kids. But if I got to participate in the white man's system to put food on my table, then I am the one causing the destruction. I am the one who's the white man, not the white man. Our own people are the white man. Why is it that we got to see that there's money involved, that there's some kind of economy involved in order to put food on our table? Why are we seeing that? Did we have that before? No, we didn't. Whoever's going to tell you that is a bald-faced liar. No, we did not. We came this close to commodification. And the rest of the world doesn't know about this. Our people don't know about it. You'll never hear any so-called Longhouse person talking about what was the just of the action of the Ganawida being here in this world. You think it's war. Okay, so people just think that we were killing each other. War, what do you think that is? War is commodification. War is creating a false economy. It's creating an economy. Because what war does is it creates an illusion of an upper class that knows things. And these are the ones that are in the military. Again, we go back to that, as you know, people in the military think they're smart. They're the stupidest people. They don't know jack shit, but they'll talk to you like as if they know all the policies of the nation or whatever, when they don't know shit. They're grunts. What do grunts know? Are grunts ever told anything? No. Who's a grunt in the military? Is it everyone? From that highest ranking general to the lowest ranking, whatever? They're all grunts. They all got to do whatever is told to them. So these are the dumbest people. They are the least knowing of anything. So, but they give this illusion like they're smart, like they know stuff. And so this divides the society, and it creates them in an upper level, because they can then rule over you, peaceful people, to demand that you pay them. And this is in fact what happens. They switch the tables around and tell you that they protect your way of life. This is a lie. It's a lie. Soldiers do not protect your way of life. They kill people. That's what soldiers do. That's all they do. You are the only one that can protect your way of life. It doesn't matter if you got all the weapons in the world, the arsenal, the biggest arsenal, as you see what's happening in so-called Ukraine. Weapons does not give you the ability to protect and to preserve your way of life. Not at all. As a matter of fact, the moment you do pick up a weapon, it makes it impossible for you to protect and defend your way of life. Because the moment you have a gun, you're not living your way of life. You're living the white man's way of life, not yours. And so this is what has destroyed our people in Akwesasne back in 1988 or 87. It was 87, 88. They had the whole community blocked off that stemmed from events prior to that, of course. So nobody's going to understand it just by looking at those events at the time. You're going to have just scratching of the surface if you look at what happened in Akwesasne. And I'll guarantee you, the people of today, you got no clue. None of your parents told you the truth. That's a fact. I guarantee you that, and you know that also. Anybody who's from Akwesasne, your parents did not tell you the truth as to what happened because they were divided. This side is only going to tell you their side of the story. The other side is only going to tell you their side of the story. And the fact is that everyone in Akwesasne was on the wrong side. All of them. Because there was nobody who was really actually standing for the truth. And there'll be some people who say, hey, we stood against this casinos and then, yeah, they stood against it. They got killed and they got railroaded with a casino. So they didn't know how to stand against a casino. They thought they did. They picked up a gun. All they did was stand against their own people and killed their own people. That's all they did. Both sides killed their own people. So guaranteed, there is no one in Akwesasne who knows the truth. No one. But they'll all profess that they do. Well, let them come out and talk in a public forum and see if they tell all the truths. If it's a public forum, then we could add in there and say, oh yeah, is that what really happened? What about this thing? There's so many things that happen there that you don't know, that the people don't know what occurred back in that time of great witchcraft. Because in order for Ganyangahaga to kill Ganyangahaga, that's witchcraft. You gotta make a part of those Ganyangahagas forget that they're Ganyangahaga. And that's indeed what they did. They reimagined themselves as Mohawks. Mohawks are from Grand River. That's where Mohawks are from. They were made by the British Crown because Mohawks did not exist before then. And the British Crown identifies where Mohawks are to be. They are to be in the territory of the Grand River, 6 nations, Mohawks and their allies. Mohawks were the ones that fought for Britain. They were created by Britain. And all the so-called Mohawks all moved, all of them. There was some from Ganawage, some from Akwesasne, some from every other place where Mohawks were, Ganyangahaga were. And they all joined Joseph Brant, who was a Freemason. So they all became Freemasons. That's when they became Mohawks, not Ganyangahaga anymore. So the ones of today, they hear that, and now you hear young ones starting to call themselves Ganyangahaga. But you think that's going to matter? Let's say if you're from Akwesasne and everybody in Akwesasne has been identifying themselves as Mohawk tribe. Mohawk tribe of Akwesasne. That's not Ganyangahaga. And even before the casino, they used to call themselves Mohawk Nation. On the way coming into Akwesasne, the signs used to be there saying Mohawk Nation. But after the casino, after they killed each other, they can officially, it's impossible. They cannot be a nation. It's impossible. And especially after they killed each other, that's what gave the sellouts in the elective system the right to sign the gaming pact with Pataki. Was was it Cuomo at the time? I think it was Cuomo. And that's when they all became taxable. That's when they had this big to-do down in Albany. The Warrior Society, all of them went there and they had this big protest at Albany, Albany, the state capital, about the taxation that was being applied to them. What could they do? They signed for it. They killed each other for it. They reduced themselves from actively referring to themselves as Ganyangahaga Nation to referring to themselves as Mohawk tribe. A tribe is not a nation. A tribe is basically as a municipality. And once they make a gaming pact with the state, they're not on a nation level any longer. They're on a municipal level, and that as a subordinate under the state. So Akwesasne is nothing more than a municipality under the state of New York on that side. And the ass kissers on this side in so-called Quebec and the ass kissers on that side in so-called Ontario are all kissing the white man's ass, lining up in that line, holding their hand out. I want my Quebec money. I want my Ontario money. And on the state side, they all want their American money, but they don't get that no more. They got to get it from the casino, which portion of their money goes to the state. They pay their taxes. So they're all confuddled. They screwed themselves up when they killed themselves. And there's nobody there that's going to understand it. Today, they're not going to understand what happened to them, what they've done. Anyways, for like specifics, we would have to say, if somebody was talking and said, well, what about this? Because otherwise we'd just talk about whatever. But if there was somebody, I don't think that's going to happen now. But there are a few people who it looks like I'm having communications with that I'm slowly pulling them out that they know. If they want answers to their questions, they're going to have to come out publicly, because I'm not going to talk to people on a private level. This is nonsense. People want this. It's nonsense. It's not time for us to have it private. It's not time for us even to say no cameras or no video. It's time for us to show the world how peace works, how law works. Anyways, okay. I think there is somebody. Is there somebody there with their hand up?
It's Gawani Yosta.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Gawani Yosta.
So I know I haven't been around in a while. I've been really busy. But anyways, just to go off of what you're just talking about, what do you suggest that we call ourselves then? Because not all of us are even tribal members.
Okay, well, nobody can call themselves anything else other than what they actually are. Nobody has the legal right to call themselves anything else than what they are. So I call myself Ganyangahaga. Now, for anyone else to say you can't call yourself that, this will have to be proven through law. So anyone who establishes that they refer to themselves as this or that, you have to prove it through law. So it's not a matter of what we want to call ourselves or what I would suggest or what anything would suggest. It's a matter of what the people have actually categorized themselves as. So everybody wants to call themselves Ganyangahaga. Can I prove in law that they are not? And if I do prove in law that they are not, would you recognize that? You know what Mohawks are? Mohawks have become the ones to cause problems and run away. Mohawks never address anything. So let's see. If we had to substantiate our claim as to this is who we are, can we do it? Can you substantiate in a council, a court of law, a council, that you are Ganyangahaga? I will present in any council anywhere that I am Ganyangahaga. I know that you would do that. I know that anyone in Akwesasne, in Ganawagi would do that. But you be truthful with yourself and ask this question. Even though anybody would claim that, is it actually true? Are all the people that you know that you can think of that would claim they're Ganyangahaga, are they? So then let's entertain the idea or the question of us being Ganyangahaga. Let me entertain the idea of me being Ganyangahaga. I would have to prove it. Can I prove it in a court of law? I would have to be able to call on people who could substantiate. Now, I could call on people, as you know, you were at that council in 2015, where was it 2015? Yeah, 2015 in Akwesasne, where I accused Paul Delaron of misleading the people down the path of the Ganigurdaks. You were there. You seen that when I went there, I asked them if they knew me. And the younger ones couldn't say they knew me because they don't know me. But all their elders said, yes, they knew me. And I asked them, how do you know me? Do you know me from the time of after the split of the divisions or of the time prior of the time of one Longhouse? And all those elders that were present, including your father, let's see, who else was there? Loran Thompson was there, Francis Booth, not Francis, his brother, John Boots, his wife was there, the late, what was her name? Oh, I can't remember, no. Anyways, she was there also.
John Boots' wife? Did you
yeah.
say John Boots' wife?
Yeah.
Harriet.
Yeah. Harriet, she was there. Of course, Paul was there. Francis was off to the side there somewhere. And there was a few others there, I forget who. Anyways, all the elders that were there, again, when I asked them, they all verified, yes, I come from the one Longhouse. Okay, now I'll tell you that if any of those people asked me that, I would have to verify that, yes, they come from the time of one Longhouse. I would have to say that Paul Delaron comes from the time of one Longhouse, which, as a matter of fact, the only reason why I went there to put these charges upon Paul is because of the fact that he comes from my house. So in that house, there is only one reality that divided into two. There is no three, there is no four. This is a lie. These are Johnny-come-latelys that are neither this nor that, and who want to ride on the coattails of making money in either the tobacco industry or marijuana or something now, taking advantage of what is my right. It's not theirs, it's mine. Within the Longhouse, within our world, all rights, everything only belongs to those who are within the circle of law. You know that. So if a person stepped outside of that circle, do they have access to being able to claim that they are Ganyangahaga? Do they have access to even claiming ceremonies, songs, rights, titles? Do they have access to any of that once a person steps out of the circle? Can you answer that?
Well, I just know that a lot of us, especially the younger people, our parents did what they did. They went and got us those numbers. And just having those numbers, we're outside the circle, right? And
That's right.
it's like we have a baby, and the first thing we do is we go and get a band number or a tribal number because we think that that's what it is to be Ngwehue. That's what it is to be Mohawk, right? And we don't know any better because that's what's been normalized. And so for a lot of people my age, like, what are we supposed to do?
Hmm.
Myself, I'm tired of the labels. You can take all those labels. Those are all just labels to me.
Mm.
You can take the clan away from me. You can take being Mohawk. You can take being Ganyagahaga. You can take me being a female. You can take my brown hair. You can take my brown eyes. You can take all the labels you want from me because I've seen myself beyond physical form. And so for myself, that's where I'm at. And I can only speak to that from my experiences. And so today, I'm just really tired of these labels because it just keeps us inside the box. It really does. And then being,
There's
there's a lot of
to
people
every
without
action,
clans even.
there's a reaction. To everything that happens, there's something else that's happening outside of our visibility.
And what is that?
I couldn't hear you. You were breaking up there. I don't know if I cut in on you because you were
No,
breaking up.
you said to every action, or you said something about visibility. And I said, well, what is that?
Oh, okay. All right. So let's say these labels that you identify, you could take all these things away. Clan, names, rights, whatever. Okay. These things can only happen from within law. And it can't happen that somebody's going to take these things away from you. The only way that your clan, that your rights and all of this, these labels can be gone from you is if a person themselves relinquish it. So here, if we're identifying something that our parents done that kind of it's traded over to us, then we have a certain level of say innocence to that. We didn't know. But if when we get to that certain age of where we are of our own power now, of our own thinking, and we continue in maintaining that, then it's not that somebody else gave something away or that our parents or somebody else, grandparents, did this to us. It's that we then make the conscious choice to continue in that corruption. It's the exact same opposite of what the non-native people are always saying to us. You hear this all the time. White people saying, hey, that was a long time ago. It wasn't me. Get over it. Hey, wait a minute. If that white person is doing the exact same thing as their ancestor from 200 years ago, can that white person of today separate themselves from that action? No, they can't. So the same thing with us on our side. If our parents or grandparents or great-grandparent done something that put us outside of law, and that this is conveyed down to us, and then once we become aware of it, if we just stay within the same vein, we made the conscious choice to do something. But in that case, it's like the person doesn't do anything, doesn't have to do anything. All they got to do is just forget. That's all. They just forget things. And so this is how people can say things are taken away from us. These labels are gone from us. No one can take nothing away from them. No one can take my clan away. That's impossible. But I can give it up. No one can take it. I can give it up. Isn't that right? That I can give up my clan?
I don't know. I've never heard somebody wanting to give up their clan.
Oh,
Everyone just wants a clan.
okay, there you go. Nobody wanting to give up their clan. Let's go to just an incident that you don't have to really know anything about. All you gotta know is that two people who call themselves Mohawks killed each other in Akwesasne. Not that the two dead people shot and killed each other, but the people killed each other. So let's see. Did they give it up? Was it something that they chose to do? Did a white man make them kill each other? This is something that they chose to do. Once Ganyangahaga kills Ganyangahaga, do they still have a clan?
They still have a clan, but isn't there more to it? They still have a clan, but if you kill one of your own, then what?
What do you think? If
Well,
someone,
under law, then what?
okay, then what? Okay, so let's say I'm the person who kills somebody. Then what? What do you do? Well, if I'm the one who killed, I'm the one in power. Who applies law to me if I'm the one in power? No one. This is precisely what happened in Akwesasne. Everyone chose to not apply law because someone was in power that they were all afraid to confront. Everyone in Akwesasne was afraid to confront. They had no problem killing themselves, killing each other, but they could not stand up against the thing that made them kill each other. This constitutes where once the wrong is done, that everybody, by not addressing it, allowed the wrong to happen. And so if you allow a wrong to happen, to whatever degree, somebody's getting raped over there, somebody's getting murdered, we do nothing, we're a part of it, we're responsible for it. If we're responsible, we can be charged under anybody's law, white man's law, our law. The bottom line is that for us, again, no one can take my clan away. I can give it up. It's not that I choose to say, hey, here's a clan, it's like stuck to me, I can give this up. It's not that a person chooses to do that, but those people who killed, is that clan still with them? Or does law identify that that clan is no longer with them? See, it's not that they had to say, well, I choose to give up this clan. No, it's their actions of killing. That once they kill, they give up their right. And once you kill a Ganyangahaga kills a Ganyangahaga, then we got to go back to what we identify as. How do we associate with each other as being Ganyangahaga? Under what authority? Under what action brings us all together to say we are Ganyangahaga? This goes right back to the formation of the league. It goes right back to the Ganawida establishing, identifying that the Ganyangahaga are the foundation of the great law of peace. To the point of identifying that, I'm sure you know this, that in Grand Council, no council is legal unless all 9 Mohawk chiefs are there. All 9 Ganyangahaga chiefs are there. Have you ever known there in your lifetime to be 9 Ganyangahaga chiefs?
No.
So does this mean that just because there's not 9 Mohawk chiefs, Ganyangahaga chiefs, let's say there's 2, there's 1, there's 5, whatever amount, whatever they recognize. So let's say, well, there's 5, that's what we got. So we're gonna do that, it's legal. Is that legal?
No, because there's supposed to be 9. And I was told that as far as like current news, current like what's happened currently in the past, 10, 15 years, because of those seats not being able to be filled, or because they haven't been filled, that um we can't really do anything about the issues throughout the Confederacy, or
Okay, the rest of the Confederacy can't do nothing. They can't do nothing as a grand council. But in their nations, they still got their councils. It's just the grand council that can't function unless all 9 Ganyaga chiefs are there. So this means that, well, we all know that there's no such thing as 9 Ganyaga chiefs. This tells us, automatically tells us, that one of two things here. Do we accept that we don't have 9 chiefs? Are we supposed to accept that? Or once we see that, hey, we lost just one chief is missing, aren't we supposed to take action to replace that chief immediately?
yeah, we should have had those seats filled a long time ago.
Therein you have to know then the history as to why those seats are not filled. Because
Well, sometimes I feel like they like it like that.
who's they?
The ones who, I don't know, maybe like the older generation.
Okay, where do you place these older generation? Are they in the Ganyangahaga Nation? Are they in Akwesasne? Or are they somewhere else?
They're all over, like through, they're in different communities. I just mean, like, I don't know, I just think about the people who are in positions now, and
But
And-
what positions? Longhouse positions or? past
yeah,
his-
longhouse positions. Even though I know that it's the people that are supposed to be doing these things, it almost, I don't know, there's something else to what's going on. I feel there's
Oh, yeah.
something that isn't talked about, and that's why I've been trying to talk about these things.
Well, let's understand something then. You, in your own oration, right now, you're saying you've been trying to talk about these things, but the statement that you made 5 minutes ago identifies that you don't want to talk about those things. Because in the statement that you made about these labels taken off of me, you identified that I'm tired of hearing about that. But if there's anything,
Well,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
okay, if there's anything that can be taken from us in that sense, then we know that it's a legal issue. So think of this. I'm tired of hearing legal issues. When you say that I'm tired of these labels being taken off, what you're identifying is you're tired of hearing these legal issues. What are legal issues? Legal issues are corruptions that happened in our past to make us end up in the circumstances that we're in today. But you express it. And this is what everybody has expressed ever since the corruptions happened. Everybody's tired of it. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody ever wants to hear it. Who do you think doesn't want to hear about a corruption?
The people who are creating the corruption, who are in it, who are, you know what, I'm just more tired of hanging on, and I'm just more tired of hanging on to something and there not being, it feels like there isn't more people who are trying to fight, who are trying to correct things, who are trying to address these corruptions. And because it's easier to sweep everything under the rug, it's easier for us to just sit quietly and just live life like this. But I also know that there is a lot of people who are and who want to address these corruptions. It just, a lot of the times it feels like there's just a very, very small percentage of people who are wanting to talk about these things, address them, have those uncomfortable conversations, because that's what it comes down to, is being uncomfortable. Nobody likes to be uncomfortable.
Let's address that. Okay, the people that want to address these corruptions, let's identify who they are. Let's make a baseline here of that. The only people who can actually address these corruptions are people who come from the time of when there was one Longhouse where they split apart, because that's the corruption in splitting apart. So those are the only people.
Close it up. It just seems like that's it, I don't know. It's like, I don't want to hurt feelings, but at the same time, it's a lot of our old people who don't want to talk about it.
Okay, the people who want to talk about it, are these the young people who are left at the mercy of the ones who were at the flashpoint? Or do you know of any people other than myself who are at the flashpoint who want to talk about it?
It's more of the young people, because of the state of where our people are at, and like, we're trying to grow. We want to grow.
Okay, you broke up.
And I said it's more of the young people, because of the state of where we're at as a people. As it's like we got to understand what happened to us. We got to understand how we got here. We want to grow. We're not able to grow like this. It's I don't know, it's kind of heartbreaking, to
Precisely.
be honest.
This is a dead end street that everybody's on. So let me put this scenario to you. In law, oh well, I'll just use that. Okay. In law, we say that there is this circle, the circle of people. It's all the chiefs, the 48 chiefs with their hands held together. They're protecting all the people on the inside. Okay, so we identify that everything is in there, our clans, our ceremonies, our language, our laws, everything. It's all in there. And if a person steps outside of the circle, the only way they can do it is a breakage of law. So if a person steps outside, they no longer have access to all of that. So this makes it plain and simple to comprehend that we are a people of law. It's not a matter of that somebody just says, hey, you get out of here, and that's what goes. No, it's all subjected to law. So the law is that the chiefs are supposed to keep their hands held, joined together. It's identified in law. You even know of that statement. The chiefs, the United Chiefs, are supposed to stand with their hands together, protecting all the people on the inside. Anyone who lets go breaks the law. So let's see. Our law is to remain within there. It's to remain within law, which means that as soon as there's a breakage of law, it's to be addressed. It's got to be addressed. Can there be two right sides to any breakage of law, like a division of the people? Can both sides be right? Whenever there's a division, there is only one side that is right. Now, two sides can be wrong if they persist in division, meaning they divided and nobody's moving to correct it. That means both sides are wrong. Because Longhouse means that we have to follow what the Ganawida identified. The Ganawida identified law. What is the Longhouse? Longhouse, what did the Ganawida do? He unified the people. So the Longhouse is unification. So wherever you know of division, you know that they're not Longhouse. They are all a bunch of goddamn liars. Anyone living comfortably within division, none of them are Longhouse people. Not a single one. So ask yourself, who's living comfortable within division? Who wants it? Who's benefiting from it? Everybody's benefiting from it one way or another. I will tell you one truth that, you'll come to find over time, if this is true or not, that this house, now I'm the last one left. I am the only person left now, coming from one Longhouse that still right to this day is maintaining that it was illegal what happened in the division of the Longhouse, and that must be addressed. I'll guarantee you, you're never going to find anyone else on this planet who comes from that division who is saying that. I'll challenge anyone. Show me one person who comes from that division and who is saying, let's address that corruption that happened. Do you know of anyone other than myself?
Nobody that I can think of.
Well, you can think all you want for the rest of your life, and you are not going to come up with anyone. You might come up with names of today, like you said, young ones want, but big deal. What can you do? Think about this. There is a division. You tell me if this is so or not. There is a division between us and everyone else. Now, anyone else of the today, they can say, no, it's not true because they don't know us. Like all these Johnny-come-latelys in these so-called longhouses now, these are clubhouses. They're not longhouses. These are just gatherings of people who have some thought in their mind that they want to be this or that. But the reality is they don't come from one longhouse. You, on the other hand, you do come from one longhouse. I know specifically, I know your father. And there is a fact that, yes, today, your father and I, we may see eye to eye on some things, but there is a fact that we come from two opposite sides of the division. Your grandmother stepped in to heal this in 1987. And we related to you in the past about what happened. It was your grandmother, the late Aunt Jock, who was the opposite side of the division of us. We were polarized against each other. And to think of that is insane because your grandmother was my second mother in Akwesasne growing up. Your father, that entire side of the family, the Jock family, everybody in Akwesasne who was within one longhouse all knew that your family and my family were like this, like that, constantly. We were the longhouse. This is the fact. Now, here is the fact. This house was divided. Someone is wrong. Someone is right. We, since day one, have fought, even in Grand Council, to have the truth addressed about this corruption. The Grand Council doesn't want this. So when you said earlier about, it seems people don't want it, you know who doesn't want it? All the rest of the 5 nations. You know why? Because they're all a bunch of goddamn Christians. That's what they are, Christians. You think Christians want Longhouse? Of course not. Because Christians have repent. They don't have law. You think people who can repent wants to have law there? Of course not. Because you can do any kind of wrong that you want. And you can be like a dumb Christian. You can go and say, I repent. Who do you repent to? Let's say if I broke this, it belonged to you and I broke it. And I repent. Do I go and repent to you? Of course not. I go and repent to who? To somebody who I didn't offend. Someone who I didn't violate. I go and repent to nobody. But the repentance somehow absolves me. It corrects the fact that I broke this, that it belonged to you. It didn't fix it, but I'm absolved. You think people like that want law? Of course not. They don't want law. So that means everybody else throughout all the so-called 5 nations, Longhouse territories, they are all full of shit because they're all Christians. None of them want law. They are all a bunch of goddamn liars. Now, I'll bring this right home to you. In this circle, I can show you, everybody in this world, how I never stepped outside of that circle. But yet everybody, since the time of the division of 1974, has lived. They haven't identified, but they've lived like as if we are the ones out of the circle. Let's see. What have they done? They claim that they're in this circle. This is the warrior society that I'm talking about. What have they done? Well, they brought guns into the community. They brought drugs into the community. They brought division into the community. They brought no law because they brought money into the community. This is what people want. They want money. They don't want Longhouse because there's no money in the Longhouse. So none of these people who killed each other to get casinos want Longhouse because there's no casino permitted in Longhouse. So I'll stand in any forum anywhere to identify and to prove to you in law that I never stepped outside of this circle. I can present to you proof how absolutely everybody stepped outside of that circle. Everybody, I include your late grandmother, that she did in fact step outside of that circle up until she stepped back inside of it of her own free will. Did she step back inside of it just because she came and she said to my father and I, we got to do law recital? She wanted law recital for your family because your grandmother's words to us was that they were all too far outside of law. So she wanted to bring law back to your family. So this is where your grandmother stepped back into the circle. Did she bring all of her children with her? She offered the possibility of them being able to follow her, but they didn't. So this gets really personal. And it doesn't get personal to the point where I will say to somebody, ha, see, proved it, you're wrong, get the hell out of here. No, we will address it to the point of, see, this is how you got to come back home. The people have to come back home. No, is it me imagining that, well, I am in law making me some kind of authority, and then because I'm authority, I'm saying, you've got to come back to law, and this is the way it's got to happen. Is it me? This is where we got to know what our law identifies. Is it just me saying that once you break the law, you step out of the circle, you don't have access to any of it? Is it just me, or do you know that to be law? Is it law?
Well, you said that when you step out, you can step back in. You said my grandmother stepped out, but she stepped back in.
Yes, if the person steps back out, but here's the question. Once a person steps out, outside of it, is it law saying that they have broken law and they're outside of law? Or is it just me identifying it? Does law actually identify that?
It identifies that.
Yes, it does. It identifies that. So let's see. If it was me, like what everybody says, that it's my family, my people, they say it was Joe Phillips who stepped outside of law. This is what they claim. Then if this is so, then I am out here. I'm not up here. This would mean that you are in here. This would mean that you would have law. You wouldn't have these questions that you have today. You wouldn't be in the circumstances that you're in today. Because the fact of division, identifying one party is right, one party is wrong. So to entertain the possibilities here, I'll place myself outside here. I'm not in this circle based on what everyone else says. But is it just a matter of what people say? Or does it actually have to be substantiated? Or can we just say, according to law, you're out of here, so get out of here? Can we say that, or do we have to substantiate the claims?
Yeah, you have to talk about it.
There you go, we have to talk about it. Try to find anyone other than myself now, who ever tried to talk about it. Try to find anyone who still wants to talk about it. Try to find anyone other than myself. But yet, here I am, I'm the one outside of law, according to the claims of the other people. And this would mean, actually, your father, because your father hangs out with Loran Thompson. Loran Thompson hangs out with Paul Delarome. Paul Delarome hangs out with Francis Booth. Francis Booth they all hang out with Alan and Tom Stellar, and they're all part of the original split that was in the house that I was in. They were all in my house. I was all in their house. So here's all the people that I just named. You know them. It goes right to your father. They all came. I'm outside of the circle. Now, I don't know if you've actually ever heard that from your father, but just the mere fact of who he associates with. Okay, we had a little mishap here. Okay, what was I saying there?
They are claiming that you are outside of the circle.
Okay, I don't know where we got cut off, but anyways, this is the fact that
The
all of
last thing I heard you say was all the names that my father associates, and because he associates with them, and then it went off.
yeah, okay, so the fact that he associates with them identifies, because I don't associate with them. I identify that all of them are still outside of law. And it's not just that, well, here I am, I'll say this behind their backs. No, as you know, I went right into their house to identify it. Now there's something. Are we there?
Yeah. It's here.
Okay, let me do it. Watch.
It's this one. Nope.
Okay,
Oh, we had the.
again, we had a little,
Didn't go say it again, they're bad.
okay, yeah, okay, I don't associate with those people because they are the other side of the division. Ever since the division happened, 1973, this was where the physical thing, or let's say like the spirit of it happened. There was physical division in 73, but we were still kind of together. Physically, 74 was the break. But it was only around 78 that it really spread out to the rest of everyone. It went to Akwesasne right away. In 73, right away, we were divided. But the rest of the people, it took a couple of years to go for the money to get to them. It took a couple of years. And of course, you know, the money, it was the cigarette industry. So the division, right from the get-go, right from the start, it's money that divided the Longhouse. Now, this is people who wanted to do certain things, and the Longhouse says no. Let's think about this. Like what I mentioned earlier, today everybody will go to economy right away. They go to economy. All the war, anybody who's ever been warrior society will automatically go to that because they all went towards the money. So they'll all talk money. Money. Okay, so that division back in 73, it was about money, about basically it comes down to violation of the two-row wampum. That what was the two-row wampum? Was the two-row wampum is it a fantasy? Or is the two-row wampum something that we are supposed to live by? Is there truth to this? Well, if there is truth to it, we gotta live by it. So what does the two-row wampum say? The two-row wampum says the white man in his vessel, us in our canoe. We're not to interfere with each other. Where's economy? Let's see. Is economy in our canoe or is it in the white man's vessel? It's in the white man's vessel. So everybody that talks about economy, their mind is automatically in the white man's vessel. They're automatically thinking white man. What is that? What does it mean? Well, let's see what economy means. Economy means that, well, we're going to participate in the very thing that the white man does. Well, what does the white man do? The white man destroys absolutely everything. He commodifies it. So let's see, that's his economy. Are we supposed to participate in that? Are we supposed to partake in that economy? Because economy is what's killing our Mother Earth. So what was two-row wampum? When it says white man in his vessel, his ways, all of that there, and us in our canoe in our ways. Are we supposed to participate in economy?
All I know is that we're supposed to coexist,
Okay, so the answer to that,
but we also don't live the way that we used to live. And so a lot of people don't know how to support themselves.
mhm. This is a fact. A lot of people don't know how to support themselves. We are stuck in it. Everybody is stuck in it. Now, this is the thing. In the beginning, if you're getting raped, and the person is they're against it. That's what constitutes them getting raped. Let's say after an hour, you say, okay, well, give me $20 then. Does that
Wait,
mean?
that's a horrible example, even because a lot of us have been raped. So that's a horrible example.
Okay, well, maybe our people haven't been raped. Maybe collectively you don't view it as we are being raped. But
No, we
maybe
are. We definitely are. But we definitely are. And we have been. We definitely have been.
okay, so
I'm
then
just
this
saying though, a lot of
then-
us.
then this is not a horrible example. I am not giving an example. I am talking about a reality. So when we're talking about a reality, we can't reduce it to an example. Because an example is talking about something that exemplifies something else that we're talking about. So when I'm talking about a rape, this is in fact what has been happening to us. This brings us to like what you said earlier. I forget exactly how you said it, but it's in the lines of that people are afraid to talk about stuff. There's things people don't want to talk about. Because here, look,
Uncomfortable.
yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's not reality to not talk about it. If we don't talk about it, if we don't address it, then that thing we're uncomfortable about is what happens. It's the reality. So if we don't talk about the rape that is in fact happening to us, we will not be able to address it, and it will continue to happen to your children. And more young girls will say, some of us have been raped. More and more young girls will be actually saying physically, we have been raped. Because we are adopting the white man's ways in every way. What does the white man do in relation to women? He rapes them. He kills them. If we adopt the white man's ways, are we isolating ourselves from that behavior? Are we being truthful? You tell me. Tell me in Akwesasne that young girls there are not now, that they're not getting raped by young guys in Akwesasne. Isn't this happening?
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening everywhere.
It's our own people. You see, this is where let's be certain of advancements here. When we're talking specifically about somewhere, and then we say it's happening everywhere, then we're kind of deflecting from what the true issue is that we're addressing. We're not addressing everywhere. We're
Oh, well, I'm just
addressing,
saying that it happens everywhere. I don't mean to deflect. I'm just saying that it happens everywhere.
yeah, because that's the white man's world, and the white man's world is everywhere. We're adopting it. The more that we adopt it, we accept it. It's accepted as the status quo within us. And so as the corruptions or the crimes become visible by what we have accepted, then we can't address those things. Everything goes unaddressed. There's a young girl here in Ganawagi who just disappeared, was murdered, I don't know now, more than 10 years ago. And they still got billboard signs up on the highways asking for information. The police are asking for information. The police are full of shit. Everybody knows that information. It's the fact that we adopt the white man's ways, then we are the white man. And women, young girls getting killed is a white man's way. It is their way. It's like what fuels them, what gives them power. Well, it's like the gas in their vehicle that permits them to move. So these crimes continue to happen to the young girls. Nobody's addressing them because you think that the cops who are established under the sellout genocidal elective system are going to do anything. No, they're not justice. They're white men. They're white people following white law upon our people. So that means that more crimes that happen against the women, young girls in Akwesasne, all of them guaranteed get swept under the rug. Am I lying about that? I don't know. I'm not in Akwesasne. I can't tell. You tell me. Are these things happening to women, young girls, and they're just getting swept under the rug?
I'm not
can-
really sure as
I
far
can-
as today. I know that there was a almost like a protest or like where a lot of the community members came together because there wasn't things being done about it. And so I don't know if it's improved since then.
Are they possibly protesting that against the white cops that they got on the reserve there?
No, because it's not the white cops, it's the whole police force. It's the whole system.
But they're not protesting that they got white cops in their police force though, right?
Oh yeah, that too. But I mean it's more of on for MCA having the chief of police being a white man from Montreal, and then having another woman who I don't even know if she's there anymore being she was more of a city Indian, right? So she went by the books. Everything's by the white man's laws. Nothing's for the people anymore.
And you could thank all the people who claim to be Longhouse for that. Because it's the division of the Longhouse. They broke themselves down, permitting this white man's corruption to rise up within them. And the fact is all the people who are in those divisions, who you think are good people that you would think they'd be on your side because they were on the Warrior Society side, all of those people, they all work in the system today. They all either vote in it or work in it, get paid off of it some way or another. These are the people that were at the original division. Because there has always been, I'll say outside of the house of honor that Goa, everybody has been full of shit. They've been professing that they're Longhouse people, and they're not. They're full of shit. Find one person who remembers the action that was taken of 1946. I'll guarantee you, there's not a single person left alive who knows the action of 1946. But if you get all those people together, and I started telling them, reminding them of what that action is, in front of you, they would all say, oh yeah, yeah. But you asked them of your own accord for them to tell you what the action was of 1946 from Grand Council in relation to every community. I'll guarantee you there isn't a single person who will tell you what that action was, because they choose not to, because they are on the side of corruption, making money, getting rich off of their corruption. Everybody's making their money that way, except for us. Oh, that may sound like, oh, like I'm tooting my horn, like I'm so great. Well, I'll tell you, I am proud, and I will shout it day and night to everyone. I am proud I never stepped out of this circle. Now that's a challenge. All the people who claim that we were wrong, they should jump at the opportunity to prove me to be wrong. I identify, I have never stepped out of this circle. But the mere existence of Warrior Society tells you that I am a liar. Because the existence of Warrior Society, knowing that we were the only people against Warrior Society throughout all the territories, no one else stood against them. The only other person who stood against them was in Onondaga. And his name was Ronnie Jones. And they put a bullet in his head. They burned his house down. They left him in the house and they cut his hands off. This was in 1988, the same time that Matthew Pike got his spine blown out by an AK-47 in Akwesasne. It was in the same time. So all the people outside of us, they killed them off. And you can ask some of your elders, and they'll tell you, they know that the Warrior Society tried to kill us off also. They succeeded in killing everyone else off who was against them, because there was only a couple of people against them. The only other one, I related this before, was in Tonawanda. And I can't remember his name. I think he was a buck. He was an old, tough looking, you know, the way the Senecas look. They're tough, solid, muscle looking, like an old timer, solid muscle person within the nation. That's what this guy was. That's what he looked like. He was an old timer when we were there. That's when, just before they killed each other in Akwesasne, I related this to you before. We went out to all the nations to get all the chiefs to come here. All of them refused, absolutely all of them. It's not a matter of that nobody stepped forward to come to Akwesasne to address it. It's a matter of that they all refused. This is something different that you don't know. That you might think, well, how come the other nations didn't come? Why not? If we're 5 nations. The other nations were asked. But the reason why everybody together doesn't want to address anything, because you would find out, everyone in their nation would find out that the ones who went to get them, to tell them to come to Akwesasne, was only us. And they don't want that to be known, because the division in the Longhouse is a division all the way through the Confederacy. They are all a bunch of ass-kissing Christian sellouts. They are all Handsome Lake. And this is what is Akwesasne. This is in Akwesasne. The last place the last stronghold for law is here in Ganawagi. And here in Ganawagi, the ass kissers, Stephen McCumber, Kevin Deere, changed it in 1990. Because in 1987, from the divisions the division that happened in 1973, we divided in 1987. We finally built another house behind Stephen McCumber's here in Akwesasne. His wife was the late Winnie David. Her father was the late Chief Sloss David, Battle Clan chief. Okay, so we built this longhouse behind Stephen McCumber's. It was called the Mohawk Trail in 1987. In 1989, Stephen McCumber stole that house. And how he stole it, he was a carver. My brother Keith went in for the midwinter, the first day to start the fires for the dawn ceremony. And just like that, like the night before, maybe 2 days before, nothing in the longhouse. Just like that, Stephen McCumber has his carvings all over the floor in the longhouse. He comes in, he tells my brother Keith to get out of here. Winnie comes in and tells my brother Keith to get the F out of here. Got no business here. No. So that's the midwinter. That's around mid-January-ish, somewhere around there. At the harvest, just before that, so that's what, maybe 3-4 months before that, this is where Stephen tries bringing in Handsome Lake into the house. I kept all records of councils and stuff like that. I used to write in my book even where the people sat in the council, where I sat, where whatever, what was said, what was put forward. Stephen tries bringing in Handsome Lake in the harvest, making the harvest 7 days. 7 days. What the hell is that? The harvest is only 4 days. It's 4 sacred ceremonies. What is this 7 days? And well, this is where Stephen started to explain about the white dog ceremony, about their how they repent. I don't know if you know this, how the Christian Handsome Lakers do their repenting, but they get a white dog, and every sin that they had throughout the year, they make a little tobacco pouch, they usually do it in that red cloth. So they make it in this red cloth, they tie it onto the dog. So everybody who sinned throughout the year ties it onto the dog, and then they cut the dog's throat. And the dog dies, of course. And they say that the dog's spirit brings everyone's sins up to the Creator, and the Creator forgives them for those sins. This is the white dog ceremony that Stephen McCumber tried bringing in to the longhouse in the harvest of 1989. And so it was 1989 where the harvest of 1989, where we seen, hey, you know what? Hey, we got ass-kissing sellout traders right within us. Of course, you can always tell the ones who will sell out, because physically they cannot support themselves. That will tell you something about also as to who is eligible under chieftainship titles. So this was Stephen, too lazy and useless to take care of his own self, so he had to go for the easy money with everybody else. So at the midwinter, this is where he comes in and makes the break clear that he steals the longhouse, tells us to get out of there. We built that longhouse. My uncle's money built that longhouse. April 1990. Now keep in mind, there's a lot of stuff happened. This is right after they killed each other in Akwesasne. They get their casino. They get their gaming pact with Cuomo. They get reduced to tribal. So they're a Mohawk tribe now in Akwesasne. And then in 90, April, just a couple of months before the big fiasco here, the Mohawk Trail receives Jake Thomas. Jake Thomas, their grand poobah of Christianity, Handsome Lakers. He comes and gives them what they call their healing lump, establishing Handsome Lake here in Ganawagi under the two ass kissers, Stephen McCumber and Kevin Deere. Kevin Deere, who's the father of the current lesbian mayor. So you can see puppet strings all the way down the line. And the one who is controlling Kevin Deere's puppet strings, well, that is Andrew DeLille Sr. So these are the people that brought in Handsome Lake in 1990. Handsome Lake was already in Akwesasne. Handsome Lake was everywhere. It filtered in through guess who? People will say, no way, it came in through the Warrior Society. That's how Handsome Lake came in. The Christian Handsome Lake religion came in through the Warrior Society, because the Warrior Society was created by the band system here in Ganawagi. Despite what anybody wants to think, I don't give a crap what anybody in Akwesasne wants to think about it. Was anyone in Akwesasne here in 73 when the Warrior Society was created here in Ganawagi? No, they weren't. You know how I know this? Because I was here. And I know all my people from the one longhouse because I grew up in that one longhouse in Akwesasne, in Ganawagi, in Ganasadage. So when the crap happened here to create the Warrior Society in 73, there was no one from Akwesasne that was present. But they all latched onto it afterwards because it was money. I related to you one time about what took place at your grandmother's, at the school. Ask your dad about this. Ask your uncles, ask your aunt. They took the school bus from here, from the Indian Way School here, that my mother and Joe Phillips created. Today, the Christian Handsome Lakers are presenting themselves around like they started the Indian Way School. No, wait. You look at what the Indian Way School today, what it's ended up to be, they're kissing the white man's ass left and right. So they took the bus from here full of guns. Philip Deering took it. He's still alive today. Full of guns in the floorboards of that school bus. And he drove that school bus right to your grandmother's, right to the Indian Way School. And they took all of those guns out of the school bus directly into the floorboards of the Indian Way School on your grandmother's property. Ask your dad about it. Ask your aunts, ask your uncles. This is the reason why. You'd have to ask them even more. Then is it true? Is it true that grandma turned around and asked Stuart Mayo to come and give law recital in 1987 to the family? Ask your family that, if that's true. Find out how do these two things fit together? How does that fit? If we were separate, we're on opposite sides, even to the point of where we would fight. How could that be? We're on opposite sides, and your grandmother asks for law recital from our side to come and give it, not for everybody in Akwesasne, exclusively for her family in 1987. You need to ask your aunts and uncles if these things did in fact happen. Because right now, I will say, based on what I can gather, what you do know, you could easily conclude right now that I am lying to you. I could be lying to you. So you have to ask. You have to ask your father. You have to ask your aunts and uncles these things. Because this is the pathway to where the truth lies. And the truth is ugly. If once you hear and know the truth of what happened to us, you would say, what the hell is wrong with us? You'd be ashamed to be us. I am ashamed to be us because we are Longhouse, and Longhouse follows what the Ganawida done. The Ganawida unified us and said we are never, ever to accept anything other than the great law of peace. If we do, we accept something foreign to the great law, we put ourselves outside of it. This is the pathway to finding out the truth. I will say, how come? How come not a single one on that side ever asked for a reunification? We asked for it many times. We even engaged in it. Ask your elders this, they will not tell you. They won't tell you that we asked for it, we engaged in it. They said they would abide by it, and they turned around and refused to abide by it. You can ask your father about that. You can ask any of your aunts and uncles. You can go and ask Paul Delarone about that. Ask Loran. Ask Alan or Thomas about that. Because in 1999, we were all engaged. All of us, all of them who were divided, Warrior Society. In 99, Warrior Society was already divided. You know, there was Alan, Thomas, their brothers, and their crew that follows them. Paul, he's with them and he's not with them. He's with them and he's not with them. You know, they play good cop, bad cop stuff to be able to mislead people. So we were all engaged in this process. I related to you before. We met every week for 2 years, from 97 to 99, every Sunday. We met out here in our backyard. You can ask them and see if they will lie to you and to say, no, that never happened. Let's see if they say, yes, it did happen. And then once they admit to you that it happened, then you gotta ask tons of questions after that. Then why didn't this happen? Why? How come nothing happened? Why this? Why that? How come if we had the opportunity to reunite, how come we didn't? How come they chose not to? Because this is what I'm identifying to you. They chose not to. Because what? There could only be one determining factor. Because there's only one determining factor in everything that I do, law. But on their side, the one determining factor is not law, it's money. We had Loran in here, Francis Boots was present here, and we were giving a teachings to the non-native people about who the band system was. And I told the truth. Band system is our enemy, my enemy. You know what Loran did? Right away, he started laughing. He said, oh, no. Francis started laughing right away. No, they're not our enemy. Is the band system your enemy? The band system is my enemy. Are they your enemy? Yes or no?
I would say yeah, because they're a direct threat to our existence.
Okay, then try to figure this out. Your dad hangs out with Loran, and he gets a lot of guidance from Loran. You know that. So then ask, why would Loran, when it is said, when I say that the band system is our enemy, why would Loran laugh and deny it? Why? This is on video. It's on video. It's not something that the person can run away from. Does it make sense to you that Loran would say that? When I'm presenting that the band system is our enemy and he says no, does that surprise you?
Nothing really surprises me.
Yeah. Okay, well, never mind then if it surprises you. Let's say, does that sit well with you, like it's correct? Do you accept that behavior?
That he laughed, that he
And-
kind of like acted like they are our enemy. No, it doesn't sit
Deny-
well.
He denied that they are our enemy. Well, then these are the things that you got to ask questions about, because these are the people that I know that you are influenced by. I know you get, I don't know, some kind of influence from them. I know you look at them like as if they are people in the Longhouse. The people that I look at in the Longhouse, who I consider in the Longhouse, are people of law. There's nobody else in the Longhouse. It's all law people. So the state of our nation is because there's no one upholding law. Now get this, everything that you just heard me say, and again, you know that I was there in their council and I presented right to Paul's face, accused him of leading the people down the path of the Gunny Guruksa. You were there, you seen that happen yourself. You seen him not address it, you seen him get up, answer his phone and walk out of the building. You were sitting there. You seen me lay these charges. You heard it. Did you ever inquire about what happened with it? Did you ever ask him or ask anybody, hey, what about these charges? I would bet you never did. So it's not something that has happened in another generation. This is something that is happening to you, with you. And it's because of that you were not taught properly about law, about Longhouse by people who claim to be Longhouse and know law. You were not taught properly by them to be able to know how to apply law. And what's the position on law, on this, on that? Not the position on this person or that person, but the position on their actions. I say you were not taught properly as to what Longhouse is.
Probably not,
Because-
because my grandmother died when I was 13.
You see, this is where, like I said, think about this from not your perspective. Think about it from my perspective. Now, mind you, everybody says that I'm wrong. That's fine. I don't give a good goddamn about what anybody says. Those are just opinions. If somebody can substantiate in the public arena, which means they'd have to say it in front of me, and they'd have to put all of their evidence, lay it down before me, and they'd have to prove it in law. And that would mean that I would have to have the time allotted also to reiterate. Why, if these people are, why would they never do that? When you yourself saw me do that to Paul. But if they are all collectively right, and now I am the last one that's wrong, how could they justify letting me go on like this loose cannon, lying all over the place, doing or saying whatever I want because they view me as wrong? How could they permit that? They can't do a damn thing about it because all of them are in fact wrong. Okay, so this kind of puts us in a scenario where even my niece said this to me about a month ago. Oh, so it comes down to that. Well, you gotta always be right. You're in some kind of contest. Wow. This is how the minds of our people have gone away from law. That we get offended when it addresses us, when it's about us. When this isn't about me, it's not about your father, it's not about Loren or Paul, it's about you. You are getting ripped off. Because this thing that you've seen with your own eyes, I wasn't afraid. I didn't run away. I didn't say things behind Paul's back. I went right to his face in front of everybody, in front of you, you saw it, to say, you misled the people down the path of the Gunny Guruksa. If I was to say that to you, wouldn't you, somebody telling you that you misled the people down the path of the Gunny Guruksa, isn't that like about the worst possible thing anybody could say to you? Accuse you of that? That's the worst possible thing that anyone could say to me. There's no way in hell I would let anything like that get by. So you've seen this. You seen there's a division here. There's all that side, your father's on that side, Paul's on that side, Loran is on that side, Alan, Thomas, everybody else. All the Christian Hanson Lakers, Tom Porter's on that side with them. All of them, they're all together. All of the entire so-called Confederacy descendants are all a bunch of ass-kissing Christian Hanson Lakers. That should make all of them mad and want to even at least try to come and kick my ass. At least that. But they're all too chicken shit to do that. They're too chicken shit to address the words that I address to them in every council right across the 5 Nations Confederacy. This didn't just happen in 2015. This has happened ever since 1974. It's just that you are never told the truth about anything. You only have bits and pieces. So this is how it's about you, because these two people, and here it comes down to this, comes down to Paul and me. Because here's something that I don't know if you know about this, but last week, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I identified saying that there is only 2 people in the world left who can save this nation. Who do you think they are? Who do you think I identified as 2 people left who can save our nation?
You and Paul.
Exactly. I said his name. That only Paul and I can now save this nation. Because only Paul and I are the diametrically opposites that has torn this nation apart. That leaves people such as you lying in the wake where you don't know nothing about it. You're at the mercy of it. You've been believing one side of it, and look where it's gotten you. It's gotten you to a point of where? What can you do? What can be done? What can the people do to reverse the corruptions? What can the people do to address that we killed each other? You can't do nothing. It can never be addressed from where you're at. There's only one way that all these things can be addressed. And that's if Paul and I are sitting in the same council, forced to address things. Forced. You have to force me to get to that council?
Do I have to force you? Probably not.
From what you know already, do you have to force me?
No.
Do I go willingly to that council?
Well, that's what you want, right? Like that's what you want to talk about these things.
From what you know already, did you see me go willingly to that council?
Yeah.
Have you seen them avoid that council?
I don't remember, to be honest. I don't remember, but I did see you there.
You remember if Paul addressed it?
No.
Okay, so if he never addressed it, doesn't that constitute that he ran away from it? Did he go willingly to it, or did he run away from it?
I'm not sure.
Did he go willingly to it?
I don't know. I didn't I wasn't involved in getting him there or calling the meeting or anything. I was just there.
Okay, well, what this means is I'm talking about this council where only him and I can save the nation. Me asking, did you already see me go willingly to this, to address the nation? This means to address issues. You already seen me this because I went and I presented the issue. I already started the process. He already ran away from it. In 2015, 7 years ago, he ran away from it. He ran away from it in 1976. He ran away from it in 1986, 87 in Grand River. Ran away from it there. Ran away from it in 1989 in Grand Council in Onondaga. Now, you don't know about these things because no one will ever tell you except me. I'm the only person left on earth now who will tell you things that will turn your world upside down. There's no one else that will do that for you now. You got no one else who will tell you, who was there, who was part of that one Longhouse, who knows the division. You got no one left now who will tell you. Other than the status quo, what you've been hearing. I'm the last person. I know there's no one left on my side now. So it's not about Paul, it's not about me, it's about you. It's about what you are about to lose. Are you ready? Hang on tight. You are about to lose absolutely everything. Everything. You're on the verge of losing it. Hang on tight. There's only one thing that will stop it. Now, disagree with me all you want. Try to find some other option. But I'll present it to you right here, cut through the chase and save you a lot of time. The only thing that's going to save it, that's going to save you, that's going to stop this from happening to you, is this council between Paul and I. And what I said last week, or if it was 2 weeks ago, I forget what it was, is that it's not for me to pursue this council. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. When I say there's only two things now that will save this nation, there's two tiers that I'm talking on. This isn't going to affect me. It's going to affect you. It's going to affect your children. It's going to affect absolutely everyone else. Never being able to be real again. You will be very soon, just like the Anishinaabe, under glass. The people are being placed there. Just like the way their wampums keep them stuck there under glass, unable to do anything. You're right there on that verge. So try to find some other kind of option of where you can have all this stuff resolved or discussed, or where you can even discover things about your past. Try to find the history of the Longhouse. They're going to tell you stuff of hundreds of years ago. They're not going to tell you a damn thing within the last 50 years. I'll guarantee you that. And they're most definitely not going to take you back to 1946. That will explain to you the action that was done from on the Confederacy level to all our communities as an action to save all of our communities. No one is going to tell you this. But put them in front of me and I'll say, hey, didn't this happen? Wasn't this, didn't this take place? I'm not going to come out and tell you. I'm going to ask your elders what they know. And they're going to verify to you absolutely everything that I'm saying. They cannot go any other way. So right now where we're at, we're in a position of where I understand that it's impossible for you to believe me. I understand that it's impossible for anyone else to believe me because everybody is that way now. How could you all be wrong? How could all of you, everyone, be wrong and just me be right? That's impossible, right? But everybody thinks that way. They think like the white man now. They think democracy, numbers. Because everybody's there, it must be right. Well, the Longhouse does not work that way. The Longhouse works with law, with truth. And truth is not popular amongst the people today because they're all a bunch of ass-kissing sellout liars. Anyone, prove what I just said to be wrong. So how do we get anywhere? We don't get anywhere. Where we get is we get further divided. Because I'll say this to you, I'll predict the future here. You're not going to adjust this. It's not going to happen. You're not going to get to that point. you're dealing with something else right now. And it's believed that that's the thing to deal with, because that's what everybody is dealing with. So this is what's gonna happen. Paul will die, I will die, and you will never have access to the truth again after that. It's just gonna be whatever anybody wants to believe, wants to think, what they're getting from white man's history, telling us in the schools as to what Longhouse is. That's what's gonna happen. This is what you're not gonna do. You're not gonna take action on this. It's not that I'm saying that you're this or you're that. I just know. I just know you're not gonna take action on it. I'm not saying you're this, you're that. I'm not calling you down or anything. It's just what I know. And just as a little side note here, just to throw this in. A couple of days ago, my niece had an issue with her son in school. And she came here and she told me about it, telling me about it. And she says, well, I says, who's the mother of the kid? And she says, I don't know. She doesn't know. She says some name that doesn't belong here in Ganawagi. It's not from Ganawagi. It's an out west name. And I says, well, to my niece, I says, you got no clue who this would be? No, she's got no clue. I told her in less than a minute who it was. I went through a process of deducing who it was, and I told her, I says, this is who it is. This is who the mother is of this kid. And right away she deflected, and my niece said, no, well, there's these other, he's been having problems with these other people, and other kids have been having problems with this, and I think it's maybe this person. So she denied what I was saying. So she went.
My birthday, you can buy me.
Their babies.
So anyways, my niece went to a meeting at the school. She comes back and she tells me, she says, guess who the mother was? And I didn't have to guess. I says, it was who I said. He says, yep. My niece, it's her son in school. I don't know who's in school. I have no idea who's there. My niece is there. She knows what's going on in the school with her son and this or that. She thinks she knows the circumstances, but yet she couldn't deduce who this person, who the mother was of the child that was having this altercation with her son. But myself, in under a minute, less than a minute, I could deduce it just like that. And I told her, and she came back later on to tell me I was right. I'm not saying this like to just give you some kind of statistics as to all the times that I'm right. Well, I could say that, you know what, when you follow law, you're never wrong. It's not that I am smart, not that I am never wrong, not that I am always right, but if you place your decisions within law, it's impossible. It's impossible for you to be wrong. And if you use that as your guiding principle, you could easily deduce, you could see beyond everyone's lies and see what the true status is of them, where the person categorizes themselves, because everyone has categorized themselves. I don't have to come along and say, you're guilty of this, you're guilty of that. They've done it to themselves, because that's how law works. And a person just has to be strong enough to apply law. Can you apply law to your own sister and brother? Ask your father about this. Ask your Uncle Elvin about this. There was a meeting, I think it was 2012, 2013, something like this. Maybe even a little earlier, 2010, at the Longhouse in Zusney, in Aqua Zusney. And we go there, and my brother, Keith, at the time, he was on a sellout genocidal ban system. He actually joined it. Somebody nominated him, and he accepted. And then they voted him in. And then he goes to a Longhouse meeting in Akwesasne. Your father, your uncle Alvin were present. Now, these are people that I know, that I grew up with. And so I said to your father, to your uncle Alvin, I think Nelson maybe. Wait, is it Nelson? One of your other uncles, the smaller one. I can't remember if his name is Nelson. Anyways, there was 3 of the brothers there. I said to them first, because where we're sitting, I says, isn't this supposed to be a Longhouse meeting? And my brother was there, and I says, well, why is he in here? And your uncles, your father went like this. Like, don't rock the boat. They're telling me don't rock the boat. I want to apply law, and I'm the one that's told don't rock the boat. They're having a meeting in their house in Akwesasne, and they're allowing my brother, who's a band system sellout, to sit into that house, into that meeting. You know what my brother did in that house? Right in front of everybody, he stood up right in the middle of the floor, and he started giving the women shit. Imagine that. Now, mind you, he was right, because those women that were in that house, they were on the other side, the opposite side of the division. But my brother was in the sellout genocidal band system. No one in that house, none of your, not your father, none of his brothers, nobody would say a damn thing about my brother being there, being a sellout genocidal band system person. You know what happened? When he's calling down, standing in the middle of the floor, yelling at the women in that house, ask your uncles about this, if it's true or not. Ask in the Longhouse if anybody remembers this. My brother standing there in the middle of the floor, on that side, yelling at the women, telling them it's their fault. And I'm looking at these people here in Akwesasne. Is this a Longhouse? Is that what a Longhouse does? Calls a so-called Longhouse meeting, allows a band system sellout to come into the meeting and to start giving the women shit in there? That shows who everybody is there in that house. I stood up. I had to stand up when nobody in that house had the balls enough to stand up and say anything. It's their own house, and they wouldn't say it. I had to stand up and tell my brother, that's enough. I said, that's enough now. I says, if I was any of these women, I'd walk across the floor and slap your damn face. I had to say that to my own brother. Is this not true? You don't know. Ask your father. Ask your uncles if that's not true. And then ask them, if I can do that, uphold law upon my brother in somebody else's house, ask them why they can't do that to their own in their own house. Why? You know why? Because law is not true out there. Nobody, no one knows law. Try to find one person who knows law. Oh, they'll say to you, oh yeah, I know law. Ask them a question. Oh, well, according to law, it is. Yeah, ask them to define that law. Ask them to recite it so that you can know, because you can't take this one little part of law from Wampum 1 because it needs that other part of law from Wampum 110 to substantiate it. They're intertwined. So ask the truth about law with these people. This is about you. It's about your children. It's not about me. My time is almost done. My time is almost gone. What are you going to do if you don't have any truth handed down to you? What are you going to go by? What do you have left? Think of this. If a person steps outside of this circle And once they're out of it, if they have children over here, are those children inside the circle? Do you ever see a leaf just hanging right there in the middle of thin air? In the middle of the sky. You might see a leaf there blowing by on the wind, but you're not going to see a leaf staying there, staying put. It needs to be attached to a twig, which needs to be attached to a branch, which needs to be attached to the base of the tree, rooted into the earth. Let's see. When a person leaves the circle and they have a child over here, where's that child? Where do you think that child is? Is that child within the circle? Or is that child out of the circle, just like their parent? Which one do you think it is?
Well, what do you mean? Like if they have a kid with like a non-Ngwehua person? Is that
No.
what you mean? Or
No.
do you mean
This is what I mean. A
or
person,
living by the way you live by?
a person breaks the law, they're outside of the circle. Now, if they have a child, once they're outside of the circle, is that child in the circle or out of the circle, just like their parent? That's a tough one to answer, huh? Whether we like it or not, law is law. And whether you understand law or not, it doesn't matter. Once a person violates law, they're subjected to what law identifies.
Because you're still on the Wi-Fi.
Well, where's the blue cord?
It's in, but if you don't disconnect your Wi-Fi, it doesn't go off.
Oh,
that's interesting. Probably there's too much people connected at the
Okay,
same time
so
also.
are we there right now?
We
Can
will-
anybody hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
It says
we're
that
back
your
there.
connection
Okay.
is unstable. It says that.
Okay, all right, I don't know where we were. I know there was a question posed. The question wasn't asked. What was the question?
It was a
Oh, yeah, it's a tough question. It's a tough question to answer. Because we might find ourselves being in another reality other than what we were told. Somebody has been lied to. Either I have lied or someone else has. So you got to determine that, not me. You got to determine if all of this, if it means anything. Maybe the young people today just got to say, you know what? All of you people from that time, these are all just stupid. Just get the hell out of here. Hurry up and die. Get out of our way. It's one or the two. Either it's that, hurry up and die, get out of here, you're all stupid, let us take the reins, or else you have been lied to. And if you have been lied to, then there's one or two things. Either you accept it or you don't. And if you don't, get ready for a rough ride. If you do accept it, get ready for an even rougher ride. Because if you accept the lie, you're losing everything, regardless, no matter what. If you are brave enough to address things, there's a good possibility you're still going to lose everything anyways. But there's a good possibility you might not. If you got a fighting chance to stay alive, that's better than no fighting chance. So anyways, okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe we've beaten it with the dead horse here too much tonight. I don't know how you feel about this. If there's anything further, anything you want to address on this, anything further you want to ask, if not, we could end it for tonight.
No, I just didn't even hear your question. The screen was black. It turned black like 3 times.
Oh, okay.
All I heard was like, oh, that's a really tough question to answer, but I never heard what you were even saying.
Oh, okay. It was back to that question about if the person steps outside of the law and has a child outside of the law. Like here,
Oh.
if this is the circle, the person breaks law. They're outside, they have a child. What's the status of their child?
Well, why does the child have to suffer?
I don't know. What's the status? What is the status? Is the child in that circle or out of that circle?
I mean, I think the child should be in the circle.
Ah,
Depends on the circumstances. I don't really know as far as like the whole situation, you know what I mean? Not just what based off one parent. What about the other parent? I don't know.
okay, well, as simple as it gets, they broke the law, they're out of the circle. Let's say both parents, they're out of the circle. That's established. Is their child that they have once they're out, is their child of the status of being in the circle or being outside of it?
I don't know what the law is on that, but I would say that they should be in the circle because it wasn't, I mean, I think they should be in the circle. I don't
Oh.
even think that that's up to me.
All right. Okay, then I'll tell you that we do not see eye to eye on things. We are sitting on the true divisions of what originally divided us, where we identify law, and right now you're identifying that you think the child should be in the circle. That doesn't recognize the fact that the parents broke law, stepped outside of the circle. And once they have a child outside of the circle, that child is not in the circle. It's not in there physically. It just as simple as that. If something is there and then not there and then has children, is their children in there? Simple as no. No, they're not. So what you're identifying then is a process of how someone can return back into law. That's what you're identifying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was identifying.
So once this is different, a person returning back into law, this falls under what everybody identifies as reinstatement. You've heard of that, right? Reinstatement?
Yes. Yes.
Is that law, reinstatement?
Is that law?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then because then the people decide.
Where is that law, reinstatement, within Great Law of Peace? Where is that?
What do you mean? Where is that? Like where in what string? Like, what do you mean?
Can you identify how reinstatement is law? It is a practice that everybody does. Can you identify how it's law?
No.
Because it's not law, because there's no such thing as reinstatement. Reinstatement, who do you think would come up with something like reinstatement? Would it be someone in the law or someone outside of the law?
Probably somebody outside the law.
Of course, because someone out inside the law is following the law and knows that once somebody steps outside of the law, that's of their choice. They choose to do that. Once they step outside of the law, the only way you can step out of law is treason, murder, rape. That's the only way you can step outside of law. So let's see. Someone outside of law, it's only treason. It's only rape, it's only murder. So let's see, rape and murder is not part of this equation here. The division of a nation causing a split means one side is right, one side is wrong, means one side has stepped outside of law on the level of treason. Now, the people inside that law, just because the people who stepped outside of law want to say, hey, let's reinstate, are they going to accept that? Because reinstatement is equivalent of repenting. Because there's no correction. Because this is the fact. Right now, where everybody is, they just want to say that, hey, they're going on the pretense that they're Longhouse. Well, if they're Longhouse, what about that corruption that happened? To be Longhouse, there's law. Any split or division is illegal in the house. It would have to be addressed. So that would mean anyone of the today who's claiming to be Longhouse would have already have had to go through the process of addressing all of that and fixing it when you know they didn't. Never did. So this means that the people who would say, let's reinstate, are in fact just wanting to repent, not wanting to fix anything. There is no such thing as reinstatement. This is not something that has ever been added to the rafters. But I'll tell you that here we passed it as law in 2015 at the not this law recital, the last law recital in 2015.
17.
What? 2017, sorry. It's passed as law there. Only in our house. No one else ever passed this. Reinstatement was never, ever something that was passed in Grand Council or adopted by any council anywhere. It was just a practice that everybody done. And you know why they did it? Because everybody was outside of law. So they just said, hey, let's reinstate everybody. It's a bunch of criminals saying, hey, criminals, come on. We can all get reinstated. And upon reinstatement, which comes around in the late 60s, everybody filled the house who were all not Longhouse, who were all clanless, and they came in and divided through warrior society. This is what happens when people think that there is law, they're following law, and there actually isn't a law. There was never a law of reinstatement. It's never been added to the rafters. Look in any version of the written law, and you're not going to find reinstatement anywhere. You're not going to find it in anybody orating about it. Anyways, I don't know how you feel. If there's anything more for us to keep going on, or maybe we could come back at another time and address this. What do you think? If there's
I'm okay for now, only because my kids keep coming down here to talk to me, so I have to get going soon.
okay, I have to step outside right now. I would say that if we're done, if you want to close, I'll be right back in. I can't wait any longer.
He wants me to close or somebody else is closing?
No, you go ahead. Sure, you close.
Kung kaya ko sa wada hong aska ni kaliwasa. Goi ko aska di dua hoet no ni. Ne gua ni gulan dano de tino halados ne. Ka sa tas na go asa oyela. Tanya tak ne gua ni gula. Agwagwas ka di wahwe noni ne gwa ni gwa dano de tino halados ne yeti sata nida dano nani oni ojis no kwa so a toni tak ne zwa ni gwa. Agwagwas ka di wahwe noni ne gwa ni gwa dano de tino halados ne kaini ga wilage dano nen nani oni a vadiwelas toni tak ne zwa ni gwa. Agwagwas ka di wahwe noni ne gwa ni gwa dano de tino halados ne kaili Niangwedige Tony ne zo Nicola. Agwagwas ka di wahwe noni dano dachiro no halados ne jiro wa jeo kanaka kalakwa Tony ne zo Nicola.
Yeah.
Agwagwas ka di wahwe noni ne ingwa Nicola dano de tino halados ne ogwila so an dano ojida go Tony ne zo Nicola. Agwagwas ka di wahwe noni ne ingwa Nicola dano de tino halados ne onaga so an dano gajo so nen Tony ne zo Nicola. Agwagwas ka di wahwe noni ne ingwa Nicola dano de tino halados ne ohde so an dano ohde so an dano ne nioni jino wa so an Tony ne zo Nicola. Agwagwas ka di wahwe noni ne ingwa Nicola dano de tino halados ne gayan tosala Tony ne zo Nicola. Agwagwas ka di wahwe noni ne ingwa Nicola dano de tino halados ne gahi so an dano nenioni ojijizo Tony ne zo Nicola. Agwagwas ka di wahwe noni ne ingwa Nicola dano de tino halados ne ongwet so an Tony ne zo Nicola. Ona wa gle wan hoda no wa ni zalade wa otana wa get ni go ha iza wando askudago Tony ne zo Nicola. Daneto.
Yeah. Nyalagoa, myself, I'm not that good of a speaker, so I can't say that I understood everything that you said, but the things that I can understand, I do agree with. There's some parts where you said where you can see that I wasn't going, because there's some parts that I can't understand. I'm not a fluent speaker, so yeah, just so that you know that it's not that I'm disagreeing or anything. It's just that there's some parts that I'm not there yet in comprehension of the language on that level. Yawagoa for everything. Yawagoa for the conversation. I know that anybody who talks with me, that they got to put up with a lot. There's a lot of stuff that comes with any conversation with me that isn't going to happen with anyone else. I'm very passionate about what has happened in the Longhouse. I take it personally, as everybody should, because what has happened in the Longhouse is our personal business. So everyone should make it their business to know everything that has happened in the Longhouse. That I made it my business when I was young to find out. I pursued what happened. What was all of this? What is 1946? You got to ask about 1946. Got to ask about these things. Okay, now we'll go Osta. Very happy to talk with you again. I hope that maybe Wednesday or next Saturday you can come back again and maybe we can get this conversation going. We need to get other people in this conversation. But like I said, I know that people might not want to have any conversation with me. Myself, I'm not concerned about that, but you should pursue the truth with everybody. Make everybody pursue the truth, no matter what it is, no matter where it's going to take. Because again, it's not me whose life is at stake here. It's you, it's the next generation. Me, my time is, who knows, maybe 10, 15 years, 20 at the most. You got a long time. You got beautiful children. You got a long time in this world to be watching them either being lost in confusion or else being in a proper house. Anyways, a lot of stuff for us to think about. Now we'll go. And sa sundios, tanzija
Oh,
daka.
is it on Yamakoa?
Yeah,
No, za sundio hak.